Studios. This is KSL News Radio,
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
9 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Andy Farnsworth. KSL's top story this hour. We're working to get more information after reports of a man being shot in the head in Roy last night. Police confirmed a man was rushed to the hospital with a gunshot wound and that a person was arrested, but that's about all the information they've released. Provo police are investigating a different kind of fire. They say they're looking for the person who lit a playground on fire, causing over $120,000 in damage. KSL News Radio's Brianna Willis reports.
The fire was discovered Thursday morning just after 3 a.m. at the Quail Orchard Park. It melted a slide and burned other equipment, including the tarp overhang. It's the second act of arson in just 2 months. Provo's Director of Parks and Recreations tells KSL-TV they did not budget for this amount of vandalism, and ultimately it's the children who are being hurt the most. On June 30th, a separate fire caused over $60,000 of damage.
Police are asking residents around the area to check their home security footage for suspicious activity. Our top national story this hour from ABC News: nearly 200 people have been killed in Gaza over 2 days. ABC's Guy Davies has the story from the foreign desk.
Israeli airstrikes continue to rain down across the Gaza Strip over the past 48 hours. The Hamas-run Gaza Health Ministry is saying at least 198 Palestinians have been killed and over 600 injured. Amongst the casualties were 10 people, including children, killed on their way to collect water in the city of Khan Yunis. The IDF saying that strike was due to a, quote, technical error. Meanwhile, ceasefire talks continuing with no breakthrough as Hamas and Israel remain at an impasse on how exactly to end this devastating war. Guy Davies, ABC News in London.
Your money at this moment: the Dow down 15 points to 44,356. Coming up, near 100 today. It is going to be just as hot tomorrow. KSL weather's next. KSL News Time 9:02.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
AARP Utah is excited to share a big win for Utahns on their electric bill. Thanks to the Public Service Commission's decision, instead of the original crippling proposal of a 30% increase, your Rocky Mountain power bill will go up less than 5%. AARP Utah wants to thank over 3,000 of its members who stepped up to help. You used your voice and sent postcards addressing your concerns that were hand-delivered to the Commission. You made a difference. Your voices were heard. And thanks to you and other AARP Utah members, critical electricity for so many will remain on. Buildings will remain safe, cool, and the possible hardship for so many has been averted. AARP Utah also extends thanks to the Commission for protecting access to affordable energy programs critical to so many. To learn more about AARP Utah's work and how you can get involved, visit aarp.org/UT. That's aarp.org/UT.
I'm back to doing what I love and more, thanks to the Good Feet store.
Does your job require you to be on your feet all day? Teachers, postal carriers, salespeople, and restaurant staff. Many of us need our feet to get us through the day. Hi, this is Mike with the Good Feet store, and I'd like you to hear from Donna. She's a nurse and a real customer of the Good Feet store who wanted to share her story.
Oh, I have to tell you, I have struggled with pain in my feet. I was diagnosed with plantar fasciitis. With the 3-step program, it really fits to your lifestyle. I work in a hospital. I'm a registered nurse, so being on my feet, walking throughout the hospital during the day, I am free from any type of pain. And after working a 12-hour shift, I go home and my feet do not hurt.
Whether you're a nurse or anyone wanting to enjoy work without your feet getting in the way, come see us at the Good Feet store.
Thanks to the Good Feet store.
Schedule your free test walk at goodfeet.com.
Everybody knows that exterior remodeling salespeople are all about the high-pressure sell. Am I right? Windows, siding, gutters, those suckers are going to twist your arm and get you to buy, or they won't leave your house at night. Tim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors, and I want you to know we don't have high-pressure sells. In fact, we don't even have salespeople. Nope. We have estimators. That's a huge difference. Estimators are trained to look at the entire scope of the project, to see and know if there are any problems like rotten wood, wood-borne insects, or construction issues specific to your house or your neighbors. Salespeople are more concerned about playing those silly price games. Buy one, get one free, sign today and get 40% off. as if they didn't just jack the price up to give you a fake discount. RGS Exteriors estimators are going to give you a great quote. No games, no tricks, no nonsense. Call RGS Exteriors to quote your exterior project. Our number is 801-280-3110 or visit us at rgsutah.com. That's rgsutah.com.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America's Double Rewards credit card promotion. Let's check in again with Heather Kelly.
Well, speeds are improving northbound I-15 in the Salt Lake Valley, but you still have delays from about Bangerter Highway up to 7200 South in Midvale, where a crash is in the final cleanup stages, but it's still blocking the HOV lane. And then we have a crash southbound I-15 at the exit ramp to Center Street in Provo. It's also blocking a right lane and shoulder, but the speeds there have improved greatly now that everybody's sorted themselves out. And the earlier crashes and vehicle fires we had on US 189 near Deer Creek Reservoir and on Legacy Parkway have cleared. Is bad software slowing you down like bad traffic? DevSimplify.com builds custom software solutions that move fast. Clean code, clean results. Visit DevSimplify.com. Remember, DevSimplify.com. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather today will be sunny with highs in the upper 90s. That warm weather continues throughout the week, with tomorrow reaching triple digits. Right now it's already 80 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake City. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
President Trump's trade war just got a little bit juicier. Starting today, a new 20% tariff on fresh tomatoes from Mexico kicks in, and there are concerns about how this impacts grocery bills and your summer salad.
You know, it's just funny to me a little bit, right? Trump's tariffs caused tomato turmoil. And and this is actually, I was interested to learn that this actually is not the same discussion we're also going to have on additional tariffs. We've got ABC's Rebecca Jarvis, who has more on this tomato tariff turmoil.
The biggest impact right now on this escalating trade war you'll see is at the grocery store because of a new 20% tariff on fresh tomatoes from Mexico that kicks in today. Nature Sweet is one of the biggest importers here. Their products are sold everywhere from Walmart to Kroger to Whole Foods. They've said this could raise prices by nearly 10%. More than half the tomatoes we eat in the United States come from Mexico. And you have to also think about the products that use tomatoes from Mexico. Salsa, ketchups, marinara, all those costs go up. Of course, that's the impact on consumers, but I also hear regularly from small businesses like restaurants who say they are struggling to plan around this uncertainty and these cost increases. Big companies are dealing with it too. This new tariff is in addition to the new 30% tariffs President Trump announced this weekend that could kick in August 1st if Mexico and the EU can't reach an agreement with the U.S. Those countries say they're trying to reach a deal, guys, and it's a big impact on the country's economies. It's also an impact on our economy and our consumers.
I would have thought, Holly, that America grew enough tomatoes that we didn't need to import. But from what I'm reading, we are the top market for Mexican tomato exports. We're their number one destination for Mexican tomatoes. And it makes a little bit of sense in this respect that as you're looking at restaurants and people that use tomatoes, they can use the season in Mexico and the season in the United States so that they can get the best prices year round.
Look, if you have ever grown your own tomatoes, you know that there's just a huge difference in taste, really, let's be honest.
Sure.
However, it's really hard to grow enough of your own tomatoes to make all of your own salsa, although I've done salsa. It's hard to make your own spaghetti sauce, your pizza sauce, although they're kind of the same. To make your own ketchup, I've only tried that once. I didn't really like the results as well. So all of these types of things go into what could happen with this. And even restaurants, like there's a CNN article I see, they're talking to a restaurant owner in Southern California, and she just says, I gave it 3 months and then we're bankrupt.
Yeah, I mean, that's hard to imagine, but because you wouldn't think of tomatoes as being such a large part of a menu, but if you think about pizza,
if you're an Italian restaurant,
food, yeah, that kind of thing, yeah, it's there for everything. When we lived in the valley, Salt Lake Valley, we grew tomatoes and they went bonkers. We always did really well. But living up in the Eden Valley, the Ogden Valley, it's such a short season.
Yeah.
You almost have to buy small plants that already have some tomatoes on them. So we just buy ours. But yeah, this could be a significant increase in the cost of tomatoes for American consumers and for American restaurants. Could shut down their businesses a little bit. And apparently they've interviewed some American businesses that, or at least the tomato providers here in the United States, who say, hey, we're in favor of this because even though we have agreements with Mexico about the number and amount of tomatoes that come in, a lot of Mexican farmers are dumping their product on the United States, which unfairly really reduces the price, so American growers just can't compete.
Well, you also have the conversation about who is picking those tomatoes in American fields, right? Because then that brings in immigration and farm workers and deportations and produce being left to rot in the field. One of the things that I learned about this just today is that this tomato tariff is not related to the additional tariffs, like we just heard Rebecca Jarvis's conversation, right? So this is actually part of a nearly 3-decade-old U.S.-Mexico trade agreement that basically exempted tomatoes, right? And I have to think about some of the other things that we get a lot of from Mexico, including avocados, right? If you've gone to the grocery store lately, they're like $3 a piece for these little avocados.
Right.
We don't grow those really in the United States.
Yeah, and it's an unusual tariff because if you look at it, it's actually not 20%, it's 20.9%. How that number was arrived at, I don't know. But yeah, if I understand it, and I think you just articulated this really well, Holly, this could be in addition to the 30% tariffs that Trump is about to impose in August. We're about to be joined. There's some late development from President Trump. We're going to join that right now.
Everybody that knows him, but in particular the European countries, have great reliance on him. And he's done a fantastic job. And we had a tremendous meeting, I guess it's about a month ago. And I think Mark will tell you that it was really perhaps more important the date of November 5th. That was the election day. Maybe that was the most important because we've made tremendous progress together. And one of the reasons that you're here today is to hear that we are very unhappy, I am, with Russia. But we'll discuss that maybe a different day. But we're very, very unhappy with them, and we're going to be doing very severe tariffs if we don't have a deal in 50 days. Tariffs at about 100%. You'd call them secondary tariffs. You know what that means. But today we're going to talk about something else. And as you know, we've spent $350 billion approximately on this war with Russia and Ukraine, and would like to see it end. It wasn't my war, it was Biden's war. It's not my war. I'm trying to get you out of it. And we want to see it end. And I'm disappointed in President Putin because I thought we would have had a deal 2 months ago, but it doesn't seem to get there. So based on that, we're going to be doing secondary tariffs if we don't have a deal in 50 days. It's very simple. And they'll be at 100%. And that's the way it is. That can be more simple. It's just the way it is. I hope we don't have to do it.
We're listening to live coverage of President Trump addressing the NATO Secretary General, who is joining him at the White House this morning.
We make the greatest military equipment in the world, whether it's missiles. You saw that recently in Iran, the way those planes flew in. They had every single 14 bombs hit every target. Then you had the helicopters shoot a total of 30 bombs, 30 missiles, and they hit every single, Marco, is that right? Every single piece, every single target. And it was, I guess, on a scale of 0 to 10, they say it was about a 15. That's how successful it was. That's how lethal it was, a word they like to use nowadays. But it was an amazing, well-organized attack that people in this country wanted to do for 24 years. You know, when we had the pilots in last week, they were saying, sir, we've been practicing this for 24 years, meaning people, not them, but other people that are a little older now. But they too, and you were the one that let us do it. But we've been practicing it 3 to 4 times a year for 22, 24 years, because they always knew they had to stop Iran from doing what they were doing, which is trying to come up with a nuclear weapon, a nuclear bomb. And we did it very successfully. And we make the best equipment, the best missiles, the best of everything. The European nations know that. And we've made a deal today, and I'm going to have Mark speak about it, but we've made a deal today where we are going to be sending them weapons and they're going to be paying for them. The United States will not be having any payment made. We're not buying it, but we will manufacture it and they're going to be paying for it. Our last meeting of a month ago was very successful in that they agreed to 5%, which is more than $1 trillion a year, so they have a lot of money. And these are wealthy nations. They have a lot of money, and they want to do it. They feel very strongly about it, and we feel strongly about it, too. But we're in for a lot of money, and we don't want to do anymore, and we can't. But we make the best, and we're going to be sending the best to NATO, and in some cases to maybe, at Mark's suggestion, if we go to Germany, where they're going to send early on missiles, and they'll be replaced, and NATO is going to take care of it. It's going to be coordinated by NATO, and they're going to work very much with Matt Whitaker, who's right here, who's a great ambassador, and Matt's going to be coordinating. You better do a good job, Matt.
I will.
But Matt's going to coordinate. He's a very talented guy. He's going to coordinate everything. So in a nutshell, we're going to make top-of-the-line weapons, and they'll be sent to NATO. NATO may choose to have certain of them sent to other countries where we can get a little additional speed, where the country will release something and it'll be mostly in the form of a replacement. And I'd like to have Mark, and again, just a highly respected, pretty young guy for having had the career that he's had, because he had an amazing career before going to NATO. So and we spent a lot of time together over the last couple of months. And if you could say a few words.
Absolutely. No, Mr. President, dear Donald, this is really big. This is really big. You called me on Thursday that you had taken a decision. And the decision is that you want Ukraine what it needs to have to maintain, to be able to defend itself against Russia, but you do want Europeans to pay for it, which is totally logical. And this is building on the tremendous success of the NATO summit. The 5%, but also the decision to keep Ukraine strong and the decision to increase our defense industrial production. So based on that, that was Europe stepping up. This is again Europeans stepping up. So I've been in contact with many countries. I can tell you that at this moment, Germany massively, but also Finland and Denmark and Sweden and Norway, the United Kingdom, the Netherlands, Canada, they all want to be part of this. And this is only the first wave. There will be more. So what we will do is work through the NATO systems to make sure that we know what Ukrainians need, so that we can make packages. Of course, in a way, we discussed it this morning with Pete Hegseth at the Pentagon, in a way that, of course, the US will keep on its stockpiles necessary to defend this country. That's absolutely clear. But it will mean that Ukraine can get its hands on really massive numbers of military equipment, both for air defense, but also missiles, ammunition, etc., etc. So if I was Vladimir Putin today and hear you speaking about what you were planning to do in 50 days and this announcement, I would reconsider whether I should not take negotiations about Ukraine more seriously than I was doing at the moment, if I was Vladimir Putin. But when I'm Ukraine, I think this is really great news for them. So I really want to thank you for that. And it means the Europeans paying for it. And again, I mentioned all these countries, we will deal with that. And exactly as you said, it might also mean that countries will move equipment fast into Ukraine and then the US later backfilling it because speed is of the essence here. So really, thank you. This is important.
You did a great job. That's a really great job. We've been very successful in settling wars. You have India, Pakistan, you have Rwanda and the Congo that was going on for 30 years. India, by the way, and Pakistan would have been a nuclear war within another week, the way that was going. That was going very badly. And we did that through trade. I said, we're not going to talk to you about
We've been listening live to a news conference between President Trump and NATO Secretary Mark Rutte, who has indicated NATO's involvement and in the continued involvement with the United States and NATO countries, rather, who are going to continue to increase their contributions to the United States to what is now going to be, I think, 5% of their gross domestic product, which is significantly more than they've put in the past. It seems like there is some talk toward getting Vladimir Putin's attention as well. When we come back after the break, during the COVID-19 pandemic, a Utah plastic surgeon allegedly filled out fake vaccine cards and destroyed tens of thousands of dollars worth of vaccines. Over the weekend, all federal charges were dropped against him. We'll talk about that after the break.
Hi, this is Doug Wright. You know how much I love to talk about finding all of the treasures and the adventure of shopping at NPS. And of course, the day-to-day shopping needs, they are there too. But at this time of year, in the summertime, there are so many reasons for you to shop at NPS. First of all, just whatever you need on a daily basis. But then, when you look at the summertime fun things coming up, things that are perfect for the kids. Last time I was there, I really took a meander through the gardening area outdoors. You cannot believe some of the incredible values that await you for summertime at NPS. And of course, they have 4 great stores. The Anchor Store right there, 1600 South Empire Road, and right across the street, the industrial area, there's a great NPS store in Layton and one in Orem. It's time for you to really save 20 to 70% and even more when they have specials at NPS.
1877 Cards for Kids. KARS Cards for Kids. 1877 Cards for Kids. Donate your card today.
1877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Donate your car today at carsforkids.org. That's cars with a K. Your car, running or not, can be picked up as soon as the next day. You'll get a maximum tax deduction and a vacation voucher.
1877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Now accepting donations of land, homes, buildings, or any kind of real estate.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm, and Chuck McDowell definitely not an attorney. This is Chuck. If someone talked you into buying something really silly and you want to get out of that silly little thing, my advice, get the facts. Call me and I'll send you our timeshare exit kit absolutely free. Inside, you'll learn how timeshare works and all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your free exit info kit. 800-486-9600. That's 800-486-9600.
This is the story of the one. As a lineman, he does whatever it takes to keep the power on in his community. And he wants a partner like Grainger who does the same. Grainger offers the professional-grade products he needs, from voltage detectors to harnesses to hard hats, plus fast, dependable delivery, so he can rise to every challenge. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Whether you're building your $1 million dream home, giving your current home a facelift, or just trying to get it out of the minor leagues, Peach Windows and Doors brings the big league look.
Modern style, energy efficiency, clean lines, tough builds, and curb appeal that hits like a home run. Not sure what you need? No sweat. Peach has the coaching staff to get your home in the game. No pressure, no gimmicks, just solid game plans and pro-level results to help you knock it out of the park.
Come see for yourself big, beautiful windows that bring the outside in. Visit Peach Windows and Doors showroom, big enough to spark ideas, small enough to feel right at home. It's time to step up your game and make your house the MVP of the neighborhood. Why live in the minor leagues when you can swing like $1 million? Peach Windows and Doors, because real homes play like champions. Visit peachdoorsandwindows.com or call 801-566-1255 for your free consultation.
That's Peach Windows and Doors. Give them a call, 801-566-1255.
The new Inside Sources.
Before we move to the COVID-19 criminal case, Holly, I want to revisit what we just heard from President Trump as it relates to NATO. And of course, NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte is at the White House today talking about looks like an increased agreement and support from the European NATO nations to the United States in terms of weapons and a new distribution of weapons to Ukraine. He's also talking about tariffs against Russia and indicating that he's going to impose 100% tariffs if Russia doesn't get its act together with respect to the war in Ukraine in 50 days.
Well, yes. So the U.S. is going to send more weapons to Ukraine, and that's actually really good news for Ukraine. It's going to be paid for by European nations, which is good news for the United States. But we know that one of the issues with Ukraine is there's rules of warfare, even that most countries will follow. Some don't. But Ukraine is trying to follow these rules of war. And so when they were asked to, not use certain weapons or don't go behind Russian borders, like they really try to do a good job. But one of the things that I think has happened is that we've kind of slow walked our support. And it's been really uncertain since President Trump took office. I mean, if you remember Zelensky's visit in the White House, it was you're not even grateful enough, right? You didn't even say thank you enough,
right?
And now we're having President Trump thought he could bring peace in 24 hours. He finally had a discussion with Putin a couple of months ago, and then not only did peace not happen, but the attacks on Ukraine actually increased after that conversation with President Trump.
Yeah, and they've continued to. So I have to ask you this, Holly. This wide open press conference, this wide open statement today with NATO Secretary General has to be a message to Russia. It has to be a message as much as anything else, because otherwise, if you're going to increase NATO involvement, you're going to send more weaponry to Ukraine. You don't advertise that necessarily, unless your intent is to say this war needs to come to an end. And he's saying 50 days, which by Trump's normal tariff account, that's a long time.
I know, right?
Like you'd expect that,
2 weeks.
We need to get something done here quickly. I think he's tired of Putin and the games that are being played by Russia right now, and thinking we need to do something. And part of it is his own commitment to getting this war wrapped up. Like you said, that would be done quickly and once he took office, and it hasn't been.
I think what's interesting, yes, for sure, this is a message to Russia and to Putin. And they were starting to tease that over the weekend in Russian media, talking about, President Trump is turning his back on Russia. And there has been, there's just not reliable negotiation between these two countries. Putin is not a reliable negotiator. He doesn't want peace. He wants Ukraine.
Right. And we just heard President Trump talk about the weapons that are going to be sent from the United States to NATO.
So in a nutshell, we're going to make top-of-the-line weapons, and they'll be sent to NATO. NATO may choose to have certain of them sent to other countries where we can get a little additional speed, where the country will release something and it'll be mostly in the form of a replacement.
So it's interesting. He's talking about sending weaponry to NATO and let them decide what happens with it. They may choose to send some to Ukraine. They may choose to use other things, but it almost like distancing the United States a little bit from supplying weapons to Ukraine to be used against Russia.
Maybe.
Right.
But I really think the point is that they're trying to get weapons over to Ukraine. And he said ones that are they're being replaced, right? So one of the things we know about U.S. munitions right now is they do have a lifespan. And as they get to the end of their lifespan, the expiration date, if you will, they either have to destroy the weapons, or in this case, they're going to let Ukraine use them. And then they'll make new, better, newer weapons for the U.S. to have in its stockpile.
Yeah, and I had heard earlier that there were certain types of weapons that he was going to send, Patriot missiles or something like that, something very, very defined, which is something that perhaps we haven't sent to NATO before now, and that Ukraine hasn't used. I mean, that certainly ups the game a little bit, and certainly would seem to get the Russians' attention, whether or not and to what extent Russia decides, hey, let's have a conversation. We'll know probably fairly quickly, because this press conference is going today. NATO seems to be on board. I mean, the NATO General Secretary is nodding his head about as much as he can, saying, yeah, sign us up, we're on board, and this 5% contribution is something we want to do. Let me just cut to one more thing. The Secretary General is with Donald Trump today, giving this press conference. I indicated earlier we were going to come back and talk about this COVID-19 criminal case brought here in the District of Utah, which was dismissed over the weekend. It involves a doctor apparently providing false COVID vaccine cards in exchange for a $50 contribution and destroying some 28 $600,000 worth of vaccines that were provided to him and paid for by the United States government. We'll talk about that dismissal right after this break.
9:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Andy Farnsworth. KSL's top local story this hour. Evacuations are now in place in Sevier County after a new wildfire broke out yesterday in the mountains southeast of Monroe. This is about 15 minutes south of Richfield. The fire's already grown to 700 acres. Kelly Wickens with the Utah Division of Forestry, Fire, and State Land says it's threatening between 50 and 60 structures.
It has grown quickly. It is actively burning. It's in the timber. So in timber fires, we see them grow quickly often when the conditions are hot and dry.
Officials say this fire is human-caused but have not specified more than that just yet. Crews fighting the Deer Creek fire in San Juan County say around 9,000 acres have burned and there is 0% containment. Over 300 firefighters are working on the fire from both the air and on the ground. This fire started on Thursday and the cause is still under investigation. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. 2 wildfires in the Grand Canyon were sparked by lightning this weekend. ABC's Faith Abube has the latest.
Officials say there's still a real risk to people and structures as these fires continue to burn here in the Grand Canyon. In fact, some firefighters had to be evacuated along with visitors because the water treatment plant caught fire and released toxic chlorine gas. And even though these fires were started by lightning, the governor here now calling for an independent investigation into the federal response. Meanwhile, the North Rim will be closed for the rest of the season.
Thousands of acres have burned and dozens of structures are under threat. Your money at this moment, the Dow's bounced into the positive just slightly, up 25 points to 44,396. Coming up, we still have a few slow spots on I-15, and we've got hot temperatures. We'll check traffic and weather together next. KSL News Time, 9:31.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
Amanda, we love talking about Utah Community Credit Union, and guess what? They just got news that they saved their members over $40 million in 2024 alone.
And UCCU is opening 4 new branches in the Salt Lake Valley, which means 6 total now. They have 21st South, Taylorsville, Sandy, Magna, Harriman, and Draper.
And to celebrate these new branches, UCCU is offering some amazing opportunities. First of all, $150 cash just for setting up direct deposit with your UCCU account.
They'll give you up to $250 cash just for transferring any existing loan from another institution to UCCU.
And here's the big one, giving away 10 amazing prizes, including, get this, a brand new 2025 Jeep Wrangler.
So you heard that right. A brand new Jeep Wrangler could be yours, and no purchase is necessary. You don't even have to be a member.
Anyone can enter. It's easy. All you've got to do is go to uccu.com and sign up. So enter to win today.
UCCU.com. Find out more about Utah Community Credit Union, where you're going to love where you bank.
Comcast Business helps turn today's small businesses into engines of modern business. It's how restaurants become reliably up and running neighborhood favorites. How retailers become seamlessly restocking, cyber-securing, must-visit shops. And how healthcare offices become the data managing caregivers that we all depend on. With reliable connectivity, enhanced cybersecurity, advanced fiber solutions, and Wi-Fi backup, Comcast Business is powering the engine of modern business, powering possibilities.
Now through July 21st, new Comcast Business customers can find out how to get started with 150 megabit internet and Security Edge for $59.99 a month for 12 months with a 2-year agreement. Plus, ask how you get a $500 prepaid card for your business. Call and switch to Comcast Business today. Restrictions apply. Requires paperless billing and automatic payments with bank account. Equipment, taxes, and fees extra. Early termination fee applies.
This is the story of the one. As a safety manager at a manufacturing plant, he does everything he can to keep his coworkers safe. From finding ways to reduce risks to keeping safety supplies in stock. And for that, he relies on Grainger. Grainger offers a broad range of quality products and next-day delivery, so he can always play it safe. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Hey, Green Gobbler here. So you've got a clogged drain in your bathroom. Water in the sink's overstaying its welcome.
You're spitting today's toothpaste on top of yesterday's toothpaste. You hope that it go away. Yeah, clogs don't just go away. I make them go away. I'm Green Gobbler, the only clog dissolver you need. I'm bleach-free, safe for your pipes, and I work. Guaranteed or your money back. Because I never met a clog that was gonna unclog itself. Green Gobbler. Let the gobbler get it.
Time for a check of traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America's Double Rewards credit card promotion. Here's Heather Kelly.
Well, the only slowdowns we still have are northbound I-15 in the Salt Lake Valley between Sandy and Midvale. We still have a crash in the cleanup stages blocking the HOV lane, but it looks like a tow truck is on scene, so hopefully they'll get this entire crash cleared soon. Otherwise, you're going to have a pretty good drive on the rest of I-15, both directions getting into Salt Lake City. There's still also a crash on the exit ramp from southbound I-15 to Center Street in Provo. That's over on the right, but not a lot of delay there. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather today will be sunny with highs in the upper 90s. That warm weather will continue throughout the week. Highs triple digits tomorrow. Right now it's sunny and 82 degrees in Salt Lake City. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
This weekend, Holly, we learned about the dismissal of federal charges that had been brought here in Utah against a Utah doctor in January of 2023. So 2.5 years ago, federal charges were brought against a Dr. Michael Moore and his staff at the Plastic Surgery Institute.
Kirkmore, sorry.
Excuse me, right. Michael Kirkmore, right. For taking 2,200 doses of vaccines from the various providers, Moderna, Pfizer, Janssen, others, valued at $28,000, and destroying those. And instead, people knew or had the ability to go into his clinic, pay a $50 contribution to some agency, and they would get a card that purported to be a vaccine card, even though they had not been vaccinated at all.
Right.
So he's charged criminally with defrauding the United States. The case goes on for 2.5 years. The trial starts last week. Literally, we were talking about it when we were here on Tuesday or Wednesday. Took them a couple of days to select a jury. They finally started the trial, I think, on Wednesday. And Saturday, U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi put the kibosh to it, and all charges were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they cannot be rebrought.
Right. So one of the things I think we talked about last week was that the only thing I was surprised about is that this case was still ongoing because of the change in approach towards vaccinations at the federal level. So you have Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who's not a fan of vaccines, and in this case specifically, he knew what he was doing. Clearly, there was word that spread, whether it was, just word of mouth or there was actual advertising. But almost 2,000 people went to his clinic and had fake vaccination cards filled out saying that they'd gotten the vaccine when they hadn't. And then there were some parents who asked him to give their child a shot, but not actually give them the COVID vaccine. So he gave him a shot of saline. So the kids thought they were protected, but the parents knew that it was not real.
Yeah, and he didn't even seem to hide it. I mean,
no.
He had, 2,200 doses, so allegedly something around 2,200 people that came in and got these cards knowing full well that they were not being vaccinated and intending that they not be vaccinated. I mean, there was no surprise to this at all. But intending to get these fake vaccination cards, which they used for whatever reason.
Could go into establishments, whatever, requiring proof of vaccination.
Yeah, there were at that time, there were groups and some establishments, like you say, Holly, that were requiring that before you could enter. But you're right about something that hit me pretty hard, too. This case has been going on for 2.5 years, and they wait until it's like day 3 of the trial.
Right.
And the U.S. attorney says, no, we're dismissing the case. I mean, for me, as a former prosecutor, and thinking about a case like this and the amount of work that had to go into the investigation and the charging and now the trial. I mean, I read the court docket on the case. It's 60 pages long.
Wow.
And has numerous entries. There were motions or motions in limine. I mean, they've done all this work. They finally got a jury seated. They had a 12-member jury with 2 alternates. So they had 14 people sitting there in the jury box waiting to hear this trial. Like, if you're going to dismiss it, why not dismiss it 100 days ago?
Right.
Why not dismiss it when
January 21st.
when you were doing things for the insurrectionists and others? I mean, why put everybody through, including the doctor himself, through all of this for so long, and then say, "Oh, we don't think this should be going forward." I mean, I can understand why they did it, and I don't appreciate it, and I don't necessarily agree with it, mostly because of the former prosecutor in me, that like, if you're going to do the work, it was clearly a fraud. I mean, I don't care how you articulate it. He defrauded the United States government out of these vaccines.
His defense attorney even said publicly that yes, he lied, he falsified information, but that shouldn't be a federal crime.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the idea is that it's for the greater good, but we all look back now, unfortunately, on this COVID-19 and say it was all overstated, we overreacted, we didn't handle things the way we should have, and maybe we're looking back now at some of these people that were renegades and causing problems and saying, no, I'm not paying attention to this, and saying, well, we'll forgive you this one time. But that's not part of the Hippocratic oath, I think, and it's not something you would expect a doctor to do, to just give out a fake vaccination card, because no matter how you articulate it, he put others at risk when he did that.
Yeah, I think that's true. And, to your earlier question where you said, well, why now? Pam Bondi indicated that she just found out about this case. And so I don't know all the ins and outs about it, but Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene had brought it to her attention, but also Utah Senator Mike Lee had pushed it up the chain to get her attention. But yeah, why did it not happen, right on January 20th? I don't know.
I think some of our representatives were actually there too. I think Speaker Schultz or someone was there
in Utah. Yeah,
speaking,
Utah. Yeah,
our local representatives were there speaking on behalf of the doctor, or at least being part of the arguable protest outside the courtroom. And outside the courthouse, and we're very close to it here, there were a lot of protests. There were a lot of people that showed up, mostly in favor of the doctor. I didn't see very many protesters, or I didn't read any signs that seemed to say, hey, you do the crime, you do the time type of thing. They were more sympathetic to the doctor.
I didn't see that either. But, look, over 1 million people died in the United States of COVID, and so there certainly was some real concern. And there was, again, when you have an unknown disease that has surfaced, everybody is potentially vulnerable because there's no native immunity because it hasn't existed before.
Right. So I don't know. People have asked, is this the end of it for Dr. Moore? It certainly is the end of the criminal end of it. I don't see a state criminal charge that could apply, because the victim, if there is one, it was the United States government. They were the ones who were defrauded. The patients that came in and got these fake vaccine cards did so with open eyes, so they're not defrauded either.
What do you think about the Utah Medical Association? Do you think they'll weigh in?
I think they have, or I think they will if they haven't already, because I think, I don't know how you can just overlook this and say, okay, we're going to give you a freebie this time, when a doctor does something so completely fraudulent, so completely dishonest. You'd think the Utah Medical Association would take some steps or some actions. Maybe they have already. I don't know.
My question is, does it have to be complaint-based, right? Do they have to, and if there's not a complaint by any of the clients that he gave these cards to or gave the saline vaccinations to, maybe they're not going to move forward. I don't know. I don't know that process.
I don't think they work that way. I think they can initiate their own investigation based on what they see, based on what they read, and they may have already done that. I don't see anything in the materials that we've been reviewing this morning that indicate what has happened with respect to his license, or whether he's still practicing, and whether the Utah Medical Association has weighed in. If anybody knows that, text us at our 57500 line, and we'll report that. But I'm
pretty sure he's still practicing, though.
I don't know. I mean,
he's still advertising that he's practicing as a plastic surgeon.
Well, there you go. I mean, maybe he certainly needs a license to do that, no matter what what he's doing. But the criminal case is over. U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi said that she felt that it was over. You indicated, or she ordered that they dismiss it. You indicated that our own Senator Mike Lee was supportive of this.
Yeah, that's right. Even the BBC is reporting. So this has gone international news, right? But he thanked the Attorney General for, quote, standing with the countless Americans who endured too many officialized mandates and lockdowns during COVID. And she called both Representative Taylor Greene and Senator Mike Lee champions for ending the weaponization of government.
Interesting. So that case is over just as it began, and after 2.5 years of investigation, an Israeli-born University of Utah professor had some sharp words for the, quote, enablers in the Israeli government and the handling of hostages held in Hamas. We'll hear more from him when we come back.
Regardless of how old your air conditioner is, there are a few things you can do to help it last as many summers as possible. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and like so many things in our life, it's easy to take our air conditioner for granted. If you keep a clean filter, rinse the outdoor unit off every once in a while, and have it serviced once a summer, you can reduce your risk of unexpected breakdowns. But eventually it will break down, and if someone tells you that your only option is to replace it, don't be afraid to get a second opinion. You could save thousands of dollars repairing it instead of replacing it. Any Hour rarely comes across an air conditioner that just can't be repaired. That doesn't mean you won't choose to replace it anyway, but being told you don't have options, that's not cool. So if you want honest answers and straightforward options, give Any Hour Services a call. And remember, every week this summer, Any Hour Services is giving away an air conditioner to one lucky customer as part of our Coolest Summer Sweepstakes. No purchase is necessary. You can see official rules or schedule your service at anyhour.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Hey, gang, it's Big Jim Smith. I am now retired, and I'm a full-time radio listener, and I'm glad I am. I had a unique situation of not being able to refi my house because I'm not employed. Despite the fact that I have lots of income, I have tons of assets, overcoming some hurdles made it impossible to get things together with banks or credit unions. So I contacted a guy I heard about right here on the radio, Rick Kirchenbaum at Loans by Rick. Best phone call I've ever made. Rick and his team at Vintage Lending were able to help me overcome some incredible hurdles, how to verify my income, all the things I needed to do to get my refi together, and they got me more cash out of my house than I expected. Do it. If you have problems getting your financing together, call Loans by Rick. You can trust Rick Kirchenbaum, Loans by Rick, and Vintage Lending. He is NMLS number 241179. Call him directly at 801-809-7283. That's 801-809-7283. Tell him Big Jim sent you. Loans by Rick.
Andy, my husband and I had Bedrock Quartz redo 3 bathrooms for us, 2 in the old house and 1 in the new house. And I loved working with them for so many reasons. One of which is that they're like a 4-generation family-owned business here in Utah that has been installing countertops and making beautiful kitchens and bathrooms for years and years.
Well, at my house, I suffer from what's called paralysis of choice. When you've got something as wide-ranging with the different types of counters that they offer with quartz, quartzite, like I didn't even know what the difference between those things are. I'm going to need that kind of help when I go through the process.
Oh, they have wonderful designers. Plus, when you go in their showrooms, it's super easy. At station number 1, you select your color and your material. Then you go to station number 2. And you pick out your backsplash, and then you go to number 3, and you select your faucets. It's so easy to do.
They've got what's called employee pricing for everyone. This is the first time they've ever offered this.
For the month of July through August, everyone gets the friends and family discount.
They've got 9 locations near you from Layton to St. George, including a new one in Salt Lake City. BedrockQuartz.com. That's BedrockQuartz.com.
This is the story of the one. As a lineman, he does whatever it takes to keep the power on in his community. And he wants a partner like Grainger who does the same. Grainger offers the professional-grade products he needs, from voltage detectors to harnesses to hard hats, plus fast, dependable delivery, so he can rise to every challenge. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Hey, Green Gobbler here. So you've got a clogged drain in your bathroom. Water in the sink's overstaying its welcome. You're spitting today's toothpaste on top of yesterday's toothpaste. You hope that it'd go away. Yeah, clogs don't just go away. I make them go away. I'm Green Gobbler, the only clog dissolver you need. I'm bleach-free, safe for your pipes, and I work. Guaranteed or your money back. Because I never met a clog that was gonna unclog itself. Green Gobbler. Let the gobbler get it.
Most of us like to be out in the sun. That's why sunscreen and other safety measures are key to protecting your skin from aging and cancer. The FDA recommends using a sunscreen with a sun protection factor, or SPF, of 15 or higher. Also, look for broad spectrum on the label. That means both harmful ultraviolet A and B rays are blocked. UVA rays age the skin, UVB rays burn, and both cause cancer. But the perfect sunscreen doesn't count if you use it wrong. Don't need sunscreen on a cloudy day? Wrong. 80% of UV rays still get through the haze. Only use sunscreen at the beach? Nope. Anytime you're outside, UV rays attack the skin, so you need protection. And you have to reapply sunscreen every 2 hours. Remember, SPF plus broad spectrum equal healthy fun in the sun. Visit www.fda.gov/sunscreen for more information. A message from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration.
Inside Sources.
There were multiple protests held over the weekend in Tel Aviv. Some protesters were holding a vigil for the children killed in Israeli strikes in Gaza, calling for an end to the war, holding pictures of some of the youngest victims. Others were demonstrating, holding their weekly protest to demand the immediate release of all the hostages being held by Hamas in Gaza.
We're here to exert pressure on the Israeli government and all the other parties involved.
And I'm here to be with the family of the hostages.
So one of the things that is just sad, I mean, it's been, 650 something days, I think, since almost 650, not quite, since October 7th, 2023, when Hamas-led militants abducted 251 people from Israel. But there's still a number of hostages that are being held by Hamas, and there's just these protests saying, please, like, Israeli government, you've got to do more to get these hostages out. Well, we're joined today by Israeli native and Utah resident Amos Giora, who spoke at a hostage rally in Jerusalem on Saturday. Welcome. Thanks for joining us, Professor.
Thank you for having me. It's 647 days.
647, almost 650. Yeah, it's just, that's so tragic. Can you tell us just a little bit about what you spoke about at the rally on Saturday?
Sure. I spoke in Jerusalem on Saturday. I spoke in Haifa, Israel's northern city, last month. I speak and I focus on Prime Minister Netanyahu's enablers. I call out 4 of them in particular who know that a deal could be made by the time we finish this conversation, and yet they have made the decision to enable the abandonment of the hostages, which for people of my political ilk, I perceive as a crime, and for me, they are enabling a crime. I need to add, obviously, when I speak at these rallies, demonstrations, I'm speaking as a private citizen of Israel. But for me, it really is important to shine a bright spotlight on the 4 who, for me, are the critical enablers, and I make the decision to call them out by name. And I don't know if you've ever been to Israel, but we're not a politically correct society, and so when I'm reading out the 4 names, there's interaction between the audience and myself. People throw out additional names. What about this person and what about that person? And what is important for me is that, as bad as Netanyahu is, that we need to understand that he, in essence, is protected by this ecosystem of enabling and of enablers. And I think that's why I was invited both in Haifa and in Jerusalem. And I need to add that there are weekly demonstrations in Tel Aviv, Haifa, Jerusalem, and other cities as well. Because those, again, like me, understand that the abandonment of the hostages is any adjective you want. I will, multiply it by 10. As a matter of fact, it's now 6:53 here in the evening. There's, I think, a demonstration in Jerusalem at the moment. This is constant. I mean, it's literally around the clock something is going on with respect to the hostages, because people understand that there are 50 hostages, 20 are assumed to be alive, 30 dead. As a matter of fact, one of the alive hostages, his parents live in our town. And remember, in Israel, everybody knows everybody. And even if you don't know someone, you know someone who knows someone. And the fact that the government has abandoned them is so extraordinarily unimaginable. But it's the reality confronted by the hostages and their families, which is why, for people like me and thousands upon thousands upon thousands of others who participate in these, weekly demonstrations, rallies, to support the hostages and calling for a ceasefire.
Professor Guerra, in light of these protests and the amount of people that are showing up, are you getting the sense that the wave of public opinion there is starting to shift, or maybe has shifted more and more against what the government's doing? So
according to all public opinion polls, I know with all the caveat of what a public opinion poll is, The overwhelming majority of us want a release ceasefire. The problem is, and again, this will be hard for an American audience, Netanyahu has a vested interest in what we call the war of attrition, because he understands that as soon as the war is over, there may be called for elections because we go back to the demonstrations that were before the war. I remind you, before the war, there were 400,000 of us demonstrating every Saturday night against the judicial reform. By numbers, that's 20 million Americans demonstrating every Saturday night. That's a lot of people every Saturday night. Do I sense a turn in opinion? I think more than anything, I sense three things. One, there's utter and total exhaustion here, because I remind you, we have a war, a war of attrition, and soldiers are being killed regularly, daily. It's horrible. Two, he has normalized the situation with respect to the hostages. And three, there is also a sense that people would like to go on, with their lives. On the other hand, we have hostage pictures everywhere. You can't go anywhere. We wear hostage swag. It's part of our life. But yes, there are those who have viewed it as having been normalized by Netanyahu, and forever and ever, that to his unending shame.
So could you explain what you mean by enabling, I guess, and why? I guess, what does it mean to these families to know that they still, at least potentially, have loved ones alive?
So just before I called you on TV, was the mother of the hostage from our town, Elkanah Buchmut. His mother was just on TV. Her son has been held for 647 days. And the reporter asked her, what is life like day in, day out? And it's beyond unimaginable. You have, Trump last week met with Netanyahu in Washington. Trump says this week, right? It goes back. All that verbiage is of utter. I don't know what would be the word that gives them maybe a false hope, because Netanyahu again has no interest in this. For me, the enablers. These are the four people who I call out are all government ministers or members of the Knesset, the parliament, who know that harm is being committed, know that the hostages are in danger, and know that the only reason we don't end this is because it serves Netanyahu's political purposes. For me, that makes you an enabler. There is no place in the world that enabling is a criminal act. I've met here with an Israeli legislator the same way that I've met with legislators around the world to criminalize enabling in their respective countries. Because I think if you're enabling the abandonment of hostages, that's a crime. And so that's what I spoke about. And I've made the deliberate decision to call out the four specifically, because I think the public needs to understand, put a name to the face about which of those government ministers are most positioned to bring an end to this unimaginable horror.
So, Professor Guerra, what do you think that the Israeli people, the bulk of them that are feeling like maybe there's an end to this, what do you think that they would accept or see or feel is a legitimate end to this conflict and return of the hostages? What does that look like?
So the ceasefire that's out there is, I think, a 60-day ceasefire with staged release of the hostages, which is also problematic. At the end of the day, there's going to be no choice but to negotiate some kind of resolution with respect to the Gaza Strip. I don't know if you know, but I spent over 10 years negotiating implementation of the Oslo peace process between Israel and the Palestinians. Is this complicated? It's unimaginably complicated. But we need to create some kind of a viable Gaza. Is it Hamas free? That's an open question. Or Hamas not in a leadership position? Hamas replaced by civilian authority? Those are complicated questions. I want to make clear that we understand that. But the question is whether or not you are negotiating in good faith or not. From my perspective, every time there's close to a deal being made, Netanyahu, and this is his age-old tactic, he creates a new twist to the negotiations, whether the names won't make sense to you. It's, IDF force, Israel Defense Forces moving from this road or moving from that road. It is possible to negotiate the end of this. Is it hard? Of course it's hard. But on the other hand, the primary obligation of the Israeli prime minister, to my way of thinking, is to the 50 hostages who are being held in tunnels, deep underground in Gaza. But if you put your own political survival above that, then that's not your priority. Will negotiating Gaza be complicated? Sure. That's why the Qatar will be involved. Egypt will be involved. The United States will be involved. I don't know if the French will be involved. I see the Turks occasionally have a fantasy about being involved. Yeah, it's complicated, but there's no plan B.
Thank you so much for joining us from Israel today. We've been speaking with Amos Giora from Jerusalem.
Yeah, speaking to us live from Israel, that's great, and he always has so much insight. When we come back after the break, we're going to talk about downsizing your house and the idea of being locked into low interest rates or locked out of high interest rates. We'll be right back.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Andy Farnsworth. KSL's top story this hour, search and rescue teams extra busy in southern Utah over the weekend. KSL News Radio's Brianna Willis reports.
In Grand County, crews rescued 3 people in 2 days. One, a hiker reported to have weakness, nausea, and disorientation, all symptoms related to heat sickness. They are about a half mile from the trailhead when crews arrived and wheeled them to a waiting ambulance. While in Washington County, St. George News reports a group of 22 hikers from a girls' camp were found by a drone after they wandered off trail.
Grand County Search and Rescue is asking everyone going outside to plan ahead, know your route, and be sure to bring plenty of water. A 15-year-old girl from South Jordan who went missing for weeks earlier this year went missing again for a short time over the weekend. Police say Alyssa Petrov was found safe a few hours later thanks to immediate search efforts. Last time she was missing, she was found in Colorado. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. President Trump's been meeting with the NATO Secretary General this morning. President Trump also announced the U.S. will be selling military equipment to NATO countries, which will then be sending those weapons to Ukraine.
So in a nutshell, we're going to make top-of-the-line weapons, and they'll be sent to NATO. NATO may choose to have certain of them sent to other countries.
The Secretary General says this will help Ukraine get weapons faster, and it's a sign that Europe is stepping up to help in the defense of Ukraine. Your money at this moment, the Dow up 12 points right now, 44,384. Coming up, 2 near 100-degree days. KSL weather's next. KSL News Time, 10:01.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
Hi, I'm Dr. Matthew Wappett, Executive Director of the Institute for Disability Research Policy and Practice, or the IDRPP, at Utah State University. Did you know that 1 in 4 Utahns have a disability? Think about that. Your neighbor, your colleagues, your family. At some point, disability affects everyone. The USU IDRPP is on the front lines, driving change right here in Utah and across the nation for people with disabilities. For over 50 years, IDRPP has been Utah's University Center for Excellence in Developmental Disabilities, generating vital research that shapes effective policies and delivers real-world solutions. From groundbreaking research to evidence-based training, the IDRPP empowers individuals with disabilities, their families, and the professionals who support them. We're making our communities more accessible and welcoming for everyone. Find out more at idrpp.usu.edu.
Tim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors. I want to tell you about our famous "You Don't Need a Warranty" warranty. That's right, it's a warranty you don't need, but we give it to you anyway. Let me explain. Most warranty problems for siding, gutters, and windows are caused by not installing stuff right in the first place. If you rush the work, cut corners, or use subpar materials, you're just begging for problems later. At RGS Exteriors, we don't tolerate careless workmanship. We slow down, focus on every detail, and use only the best materials. We prevent warranty work by doing the job right in the first place. That's why the 10-year everything guarantee we give you is also known as our "You Don't Need a Warranty" warranty. We absolutely will be there if you need to use it. But honestly, you probably will never have to. Done right the first time. That's the RGS way. For siding, gutters, and windows, call 801-280-3110 or visit us at rgsexteriors.com.
Ever wonder what goes on behind the scenes of one of the longest running broadcasts in history?
Discover the people, the stories, and the inspiration behind music and the spoken word in the brand new podcast, Behind the Scenes with Music and the Spoken Word. Join host Derek Porter for a heartfelt journey into the passion, preparation, and purpose behind this beloved weekly broadcast. Listen now on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Behind the Scenes with Music and the Spoken Word. Inspiration you'll feel, stories you'll never forget.
Nothing says summer like double rewards on your Mountain America Rewards credit card. Get 2 times the points on everything from gas and groceries to travel and home projects. Now through July 31st, 2025. It's the perfect way to stretch your dollar and make summer doubly rewarding. Apply for your Mountain America Rewards credit card at macu.com/double. Loans on approved credit. Offer can change or be withdrawn at any time. Limited time offer. Terms and conditions apply.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Mountain America's Double Rewards credit card promotion. We've got a crash that's still being worked on northbound 15, about halfway between 90th and 7200 South. They've still got the HOV lane blocked, and as a result, traffic is still sluggish between 90th and 7200 South. Now, it's not stoppable. It's mostly for people moving out of the HOV lane once they come up on where the Highway Patrol will force you into the the fast lane. For those of you heading the rest of the way to downtown, I-15 is clear, and it looks good on South 15 through most of Davis County. There's a little bit of slowing near the old Shepherd Lane overpass, and we've got some southbound 15 slowdowns just before the Roy exit leaving Riverdale. We should see a high of 98 degrees in the Salt Lake Valley today and up to 100 tomorrow. Both days should be breezy, which is adding to the fire danger. Right now, it is fair and 85 degrees in Salt Lake City. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
You know, Holly, interest rates are causing a lot of homeowners and would-be home purchasers to rethink what they're doing. People who currently own a home and have a nice 2% interest rate on their loan are reluctant to sell a house knowing that they're not going to get another 2% interest rate. And people interested in buying a home, purchasing a home, are looking at 6% now. I don't know that you can get much below 6%, and thinking, I'll wait and see if those rates come down. And so the housing market is at a little bit of a standstill right now, or at least it's a little slower than it's been in the past. I looked at the homes in our area, and the average selling time went from like 21 days to 68 days. They're still selling, and if you drop the price, you can sell anything, but not for what they were even as recently as 6 or 8 months ago.
Yeah, and it's one of the things for me, and I think you've mentioned this as well. We've thought about downsizing, and our family is largely grown, and yet now it's like, well, look, we have a really great interest rate. It's about 2.5%. We've got, a lot of equity in the home. It's only going to grow if we stay there. And then just this weekend, I saw some people on social media saying, hey, instead of downsizing, what if you thought about doing a multi-generational home, right, where you openly embrace having your kids come live there or make a space for grandkids, those types of things. Like, well, maybe I will be here for another 10 years. I don't know.
Yeah, I had my daughter-in-law and her husband and grandson with us for the weekend. The weekend was plenty. Yeah. So I'm not sure we're ready to move in, although the kid was as cute as he could be. We are lucky to be joined this morning by Bankrate housing market analyst Jeff Ostrowski. Jeff, thank you for joining us this morning.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for having me.
Interesting article you wrote. Tell our listeners about that.
Yeah, so we just wanted to take a look at that phenomenon you were just describing, the mortgage lock-in effect. So the idea is that back in 2020 and 2021, a whole bunch of Americans either bought houses or refinanced into mortgages at 3%, even a little below 3%. Since then, rates have gone as high as 8%. Now they're just under 7%. But mortgage rates are a lot higher than they were, and that's putting a lot of people not really in the mood to give up their low-price home loans. And so we just asked Americans, what would it take for you to be motivated to sell your house, to buy another house? And the lock-in effect is still in full effect. Very few people really want to move, and a lot of people are saying that rates would have to to fall below 6%, even below 5% for them to be motivated.
So one of the questions I have for you is, how long do you think this holding out hope might last? Because I think that it was really unheard of to get down at 3% and below, right? 6% to me seems low. My first house was financed at something in the teens, like maybe 16% interest in 1990. So when are people going to say, okay, we're not really ever going back to the 3% days?
Yeah, that's hard to say. I mean, there was some thought that maybe memories of the 3% rates were fading, and people were going to realize that life happens, death, divorce, birth of a child or children, and all those things can spur people to buy a house no matter what mortgage rates are. But right now, a lot of the people are making that same calculation you just described, which was, hey, if things hadn't gotten so wacky in the mortgage market, I'd be making a move right now. But we're still in this hangover period where, you otherwise would be ready to move, but you don't want to give up your sub 3% mortgage rate. And there are a lot of other Americans in that position, and it's really just frozen the housing market.
Jeff, do you think there's also a notion among at least buyers that interest rates are probably going to come down? I'm not saying they probably will, but do you think that people are feeling that? The administration is certainly pushing the Fed to do that, and maybe some purchasers are thinking, well, maybe those rates will come down 0.5% or 1/4 or 0.75% sometime in the next 6 months.
Yeah, I mean that could be. I don't know that's necessarily enough to make a significant difference in your home buying decision, but you're pointing out that maybe logic doesn't always enter into consumer behavior, consumer decision making. And one thing that sort of gets lost in this is that mortgage rates plunged so low because things had gone very bad in the global economy. Everyone was locked in their houses. No one was traveling. You couldn't buy toilet paper. The Federal Reserve was trying to rescue the economy to the extent it could by slashing rates to zero and buying up a bunch of mortgage-backed securities. And so, now everyone thinks of 3% as the good old days, but in reality, there were a lot of bad things that were happening then that caused rates to go down to 3%. And mortgage rates are above 6% now because the economy's been doing pretty well. I mean, hiring is robust, employment is near full, and so it's I just get the sense that a lot of people are waiting for mortgage rates to come down without realizing that they're only going to come down if something bad happens in the economy.
Yeah, fair. What do you think it would take for sellers then to say, okay, I'm actually going to go ahead and put my house on the market, knowing the interest rates are almost 7%, and what would it take for sellers to make that decision, do you think?
Yeah, well, sellers have really had the upper hand for a long time, and then you were just describing that big jump in days on market. And so in a lot of formerly hot markets like Utah, many places in the Mountain West and the Sun Belt, I mean, sellers we're going to have a dozen offers at least, probably most of them above asking, some of them all cash. That's not the case anymore. So it's no longer as easy to sell a home, and so that's probably acting as a bit of a disincentive. If you think your house was worth $900,000, but now you're going to have to accept $800,000, that seems like maybe kind of demotivating to sell. So it's just there's just so much complicated, or so many complicated and psychological factors that go into the decision to sell a home and buy another home. I get the sense that a lot of people are just doing what you described, which is staying put and deciding they'll deal with it another year.
Jeff, talk to us one more time about what you said a minute ago. And I remember reading it in the article, but I can't find it now, where you said something to the effect that low interest rates are kind of a bad barometer for the economy in general.
Yeah, exactly. So, mortgage rates have been all over the place over the past decade. So in the early 80s, they went as high as 18%. Throughout most of the 90s, they were in like maybe the 7 to 8 to 9% range. It was only after September 11th that in the .com crash that the Fed slashed rates, And the Fed had held rates very low for a very long time. So the super low rates created the housing bubble of 2005 to 2007, and then the Great Recession came, and that was another reason for the Fed to lower rates and for mortgage rates to stay low. So mortgage rates have just really been, I don't know if I want to say artificially low, but they've been unusually low, or they were unusually low for a long time, and they're finally just now getting back to normal. But I think the problem is normal just doesn't feel normal to somebody who's got a 3% mortgage rate.
That was Bankrate's Jeff Ostrowski joining us this morning. When we come back after the break, we want to stay on this topic and hear from you. Are you considering buying a home? Are you considering selling a home? Are you stuck or concerned about interest rates, what they are right now? We want to hear from you. Call us at 801-575-TALK. That's 801-575-TALK. Or text us at 57500. What's holding you up from buying or selling a home?
Home sellers, do not lose money selling your home the old way. Make more money when you sell your home with a Bank Buster loan. This is Rod with the Save Right Realtor team at Realty Path. Average interest rates are in the mid to high sixes, but Save Right Realtors will market your home with a fixed rate as low as 4.75%. The ultra-low Bank Buster rate gives buyers monthly payments that are hundreds less than comparable homes. When your home is much more affordable, you get a larger pool of potential buyers who can buy your home. When buyers compare homes and see your home is hundreds less per month, you'll get a quicker offer and a higher sale price. Do not lose money selling your home the old way. Sell faster and make more money. Sell with Save Right. Sell with the Bank Buster loan. Call 801-APPROVE or visit SaveRight.com.
I am not a rich woman, but I feel like a rich woman every time I go in my closet. The best, hands down, present I've ever received was my husband secretly redid my closet with Closets by Design. So now when I go in there aren't all these shoes just junked on the floor. They're neatly sitting on their shelves. And my necklaces are hanging on their individual hooks, and earrings are in their little squares in this soft drawer that pulls out. It's just gorgeous. In fact, he saw how much I loved it. He had Closets by Design redo the garage. So now all the stuff, the tools, the toys, the junk is all in cabinets. When you open our garage door, you see cars. That's it. It's amazing. The things that Closets by Design can do, and it's going to save you money right now because you get up to 40% off plus an additional 15% off with 18-month financing. You can do so much with your closet, much more than you realize, with this wonderful Utah company, Closets by Design. Find out more at 1-800-BY-DESIGN or closetsbydesign.com.
On Thursday, August 7th, the Orrin G. Hatch Foundation will present U.S. Senator Tom Cotton with the Titan of Public Service Award at the Grand America Hotel in Salt Lake City. You're invited to join Senator Cotton, a senior member of the Senate leadership and chairman of the Intelligence Committee. The evening will also feature a performance by America's violinist Jenny Oaks Baker. Seats are limited, so reserve your tickets today for this special event at OrrinHatchFoundation.org. That's ORRIN Hatchfoundation.org.
Keeping your engines healthy means protecting them in season and out. Experts trust Stable to do that, and third-party testing confirms it. Stable is the industry leader in preventing fuel-related issues, no matter if you use it in your car, boat, or outdoor power equipment. In season or out, at every fill-up or when you store, start with Stable.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting great candidates? Well, they're not hard to find when you go to ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. People who are actively looking for jobs like yours. So it's easy to find the right person fast. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Getting help with plumbing repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
When it comes to vaping, the truth can get clouded. So let's make it clear. Vaping is not safe for kids, teens, or young adults. It's just not.
Because vaping can put microscopic particles into your lungs.
And dangerous things like metals and volatile organic compounds into your body.
And nicotine, the same highly addictive substance found in regular cigarettes.
Nicotine can harm a person's brain development through their mid-20s.
Affecting learning, memory, attention, and impulse control, and priming the brain for other addictions.
Vaping products also come in kid-friendly flavors that can make them appealing to youth.
And many kids also use other drugs, like marijuana, in vaping devices.
With appealing flavors, high nicotine levels, and lots of promotion on social media,
many kids think vaping is harmless, but it's not.
So talk to your kids about the risks of vaping, because when you talk, they hear you.
For more information, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
Sure, humans can be a little weird at times, but take it from me, I'm a dog. And a person is about the best thing that can happen to a shelter pet. So if you want to learn how you can be that person, get down to your local pet shelter or visit theshelterpetproject.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
And expanded Inside Sources.
As we talk about homes and home ownership along the Wasatch Front, and especially here in Utah, Holly, we're talking about what we call being locked into your interest rate. A lot of people purchased their homes and were able to do so at a time when interest rates were down in the 2 or 3%. And now getting out of that interest rate almost seems foolish.
Painful.
And if you're looking to buy a home and you're looking at, I think our last, Jeff Ostrowski at the last break said they're looking at something like 7 and 8%. That, to me and you, because we've been around a bit, isn't necessarily a high number. I think my first house we purchased in the 11 or 12%, and people thought we'd stolen it.
Right.
That was a great deal. But now we got spoiled, and I think those days are done. I don't know that we're ever going to get back to 2% interest rates. According to that market analyst that we just had, that's not necessarily a good thing. When you have low interest rates, it means the economy is struggling, and interest rates are being lowered to spur it on. When the economy is strong as it is now, why not keep the interest rates at least competitive to where they've been in the last 50 years?
Yeah, and we asked you asked going into the break for our listeners to let us know what it would take for them to sell their home or think about purchasing right now a new one. So you can call us at 801-575-TALK. That's 801-575-TALK, or text us at 57500. But we do have one texter who wrote in, and I think this is actually really true. The problem is the combination of interest rate and insanely high prices. It's not doable.
Yeah, and of course we know that Utah's housing prices have skyrocketed.
So high.
I think as we looked at a chart that we had last week, we saw that in 2022 alone, I think it was 2022, that home values increased by something like 20% just in 1 year.
Especially in some areas, right? So the area of the state with over 40,000 people, the city, we had to look at that. That's down in Draper,
right?
And
yes.
Isn't the average home price down there like $900,000?
Yeah, it was close to $1 million for the average home price, and that's larger size cities. You think of the smaller ones like Heber City, Park City, Eden, some of those areas where
Park City is well over $1 million.
Yeah, I'm sure they're hard to find a house in the six figures down in Park City unless you're looking at a condo or something like that. But it's good news, bad news. The housing prices are high in Utah. If you own a home, you're doing well. If you're buying a home, you're not doing so well. And it seems like the government, or at least legislatures, have got to come in and sort of help people try to get some home ownership or try to get into something, because it doesn't appear that interest rates are going to drop. And if they do, Holly, I don't see them dropping by 2 or 3%.
No, they're not going to go down that far.
If the Fed rate right now is in the 5 or 6%, I don't know what it is exactly, and they drop it by 0.25%. Yeah. Does that really make a difference in terms of people people being able to purchase a house?
Yeah. Well, one of the things that's interesting about housing, speaking of housing, is Utah is now ranked number 1 again. We're number 1 as the best of 50 states to move into by a recent Consumer Affairs research. And one of the things that struck me looking at that is they actually look at housing costs and they're like, well, they're not that bad. It's like, this is a different take, right, on the housing prices in Utah, because we have been talking so much about how high they are.
Yeah, during our last segment, Bankrate housing analyst Jeff Ostrowski spoke about the current frozen housing market.
there was some thought that maybe memories of the 3% rates were fading, and people were going to realize that life happens, death, divorce, birth of a child or children, and all those things can spur people to buy a house no matter what mortgage rates are. But right now, a lot of the people are making that same calculation you just described, which was, hey, if things hadn't gotten so wacky in the mortgage market, I'd be making a move right now. But we're still in this hangover period where, you otherwise would be ready to move, but you don't want to give up your sub 3% mortgage rate. And there are a lot of other Americans in that position, and it's really just frozen the housing market.
He also explained why we're seeing this fluctuation in mortgage rates.
And, one thing that sort of gets lost in this is that mortgage rates plunged so low because things had gone very bad in the global economy. Everyone was locked in their houses. No one was traveling. You couldn't buy toilet paper. The Federal Reserve was trying to rescue the economy to the extent it could by slashing rates to zero and buying up a bunch of mortgage-backed securities. And so now everyone thinks of 3% as the good old days, but in reality, there were a lot of bad things that were happening then that caused rates to go down to 3%. And mortgage rates are above 6% now because the economy's been doing pretty well. I mean, hiring is robust, employment is near full, and so it's I just get the sense that a lot of people are waiting for mortgage rates to come down without realizing that they're only going to come down if something bad happens in the economy.
So that's an issue, right?
Yeah, it really is.
So Utah, affordable housing in Utah has been a topic that is top of mind for the governor and his administration. It's way up there for legislators. It's also one of the very top issues that Utah voters are concerned about is affordable housing and the cost to buy a home here. Like, we're not going to see our kids be able to stay in Utah if we're talking about an average home price of $900,000, right? It's just not possible. And one of the things that Utah continues to do, though, is we continue to grow. And it comes from a couple of sources. One is babies, of course, but one is also people just moving here. So whether that's a new company, right, we're pretty aggressive as a state in trying to get companies and businesses to move here. And so when they do, they're going to bring workers with them, or at least they're going to hire them to move into the state of Utah. Where are they going to live?
Right. And people who currently own homes are just nervous about selling them because, let's face it, if you sell your house, you've got to find someplace else to live.
That's right.
And apparently only 2% of homeowners with mortgage rates of less than 4% would be comfortable purchasing a home with mortgage rates of 5% or more. I mean, that stands to reason. Yeah. 41% of homeowners with mortgage rates of less than 3% said they're just not interested in buying another home at any rate.
Right.
I mean, you just can't get there again.
That's how we're frozen, right? So you have a lack of available housing, especially in the lower market, the lower end, like entry-level homes. But what happens, right, is you probably remember this. You buy your entry-level home, and it's less expensive, but then you sell that one after you build up some equity, and then you buy your next one. And right. But if there's not a next one to move to because people like you and I are not moving out, right, then we do have this frozen market.
So you mentioned earlier, Holly, that there's been a little bit of an uptick in what you call multi-generational homes.
Yeah.
People saying, well, I'll stay here, but I'm going to bring some other folks into the house.
It looks a lot different in a lot of different ways. So it can be everything from a mother-in-law apartment, right, and maybe it becomes, your adult child's spouse and your grandchildren, and they live in an apartment that's connected to your home or on your property, or that you are the gathering place potentially, right? But multi-generational living is pretty normal in some cultures and in some states. We see that a lot. Of course, if you go to Hawaii, the houses are multi-gen. But you have to ask yourself then, okay, well, but what does that look like? If I'm going to have my child come live with me, say you do have an accessory apartment, right? What am I charging for rent? Is it fair market value? I probably would not do that.
No. You can't do that, right? Yeah, we would family or friends, whatever, if they've stayed with us, I don't know. You should charge something because people stay there for a reason. They stay there to save money.
Yeah, so that's exactly right. So we've had a couple of our married kids stay with us for, both of them stayed for about a period of a year. Actually, we've had 3. but they were doing it to save up a down payment so they could buy their first home. So they went an entire year rent-free.
Right. Yeah. And
on my dime.
We've all done that. And what are you going to do when your kid says, "Hey, Mom, I need a year.
I need
a break for a year so I could buy a house."
Yeah, come
because
on
that presumes that they're not going to pay a lot of rent. They're getting
right,
out of
so
they're
that they
getting
can
out of
save
that
that.
problem.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So would you ever have a multi-generational living in Eden?
I would love it. I mean, my grandkids, and I have 8, none of them live in Utah. And so I guess it's easy for me to say that if any of them wanted to come live with us for a year or 2 or 3, I would love it. Maybe I would rethink that after a month or 2. But you know what I mean? I would.
Yeah.
My son, his stepmom lives with them in his house in California, and it's working out really, really well. The multi-generational house.
Yeah.
It's something that I would strongly consider if my kids would consider it, but they won't. When we come back after the break, an annoying part of getting through the airport security is about to go away. You will no longer need to remove your shoes.
Woohoo!
Stay tuned as we talk with Jay Avenson about this bright spot in news next.
10:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Andy Farnsworth. KSL's top local story this hour. Evacuations took place in Sevier County last night after a new wildfire broke out yesterday in the mountains southeast of Monroe. This is about 15 minutes south of Richfield. The fire's already grown to 700 acres. Kelly Wickens with the Utah Division of Forestry, Fire, and State Land says it's threatening between 50 and 60 structures.
It has grown quickly. It is actively burning. It's in the timber. So in timber fires, we see them grow quickly often when the conditions are hot and dry.
Officials say this fire is human-caused, but have not specified more than that just yet. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Wildfires around the Grand Canyon have burned thousands of acres and threatened dozens of structures. ABC's Andrew Dimbert has the latest.
Lightning is to blame for starting 2 fires rapidly growing in the Grand Canyon. The so-called Dragon Bravo fire destroying between 50 and 80 structures, including the Grand Canyon Lodge, a National Historic Landmark. Farther north, the White Sage fire destroying more than 40,000 acres. Both fires are currently 0% contained.
The North Rim and surrounding trails are closed due to a chlorine gas leak from the North Rim water treatment facility, likely caused by damage from the fires. President Trump, over the past hour, outlined plans to sell weapons to NATO, which will then be passed along by European countries to Ukraine. The NATO Secretary General says this shows that European countries are stepping up in the defense of Ukraine against Russia. Your money at this moment, the Dow down very slightly, almost flat. It's only down 15 points to 44,356. Coming up, the heat sticks around, and we've got some huge delays on the freeway southbound in Riverdale. Traffic and weather together is next. KSL News Time 10:31.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Your electric bill is going to be higher for summer, but not if you get new windows from Advanced Window Products. State-of-the-art double-pane windows and insulated frames, any style, any color, from a company that's been building them right here in Salt Lake City for 39 years. Not only are you buying local, but you're cutting out the middleman because they're the factory. You save 30, even 40% on your new windows, and you get a lifetime guarantee from a trusted local company. If there's a problem 5 years from now, they come right over and get things straight. And right now, you can save even more. If you call Advanced Windows for a quote, they'll give you an extra $2,500 off on 10 windows or more. Advanced Windows offers buy now, pay later. They have 60-month 0% financing. They always work out affordable payments, plus $2,500 off. So get your new windows for summer. Make the call now, 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100, or you can go to advancedwindows.com.
I'm back to doing what I love and more, thanks to the Good Feet store.
Are you struggling with pain in your feet, ankles, knees, hips, or lower back? At the Good Feet store, we recommend having high-quality support in all of your shoes. Our personalized arch support system has helped countless people find relief, like Karen. Here is her Good Feet story.
After I decided my pain was too much, and my doctor actually suggested that I do visit the Good Feet store. Pretty amazing when they put the arch supports in your shoe and you walk around and you realize there's not pain and you think, how can this arch support in my shoe make my back pain go away? But it works. And how can it make my knee pain go away? It was incredible.
Come to the Good Feet store today and see what we can do for you. Good Feet arch supports are in stock and available in over 300 different styles and sizes.
Thanks to the Good Feet store.
Stop in today at the Good Feet store.
This message comes from Viking, committed to exploring the world in comfort. Journey through the heart of Europe on an elegant Viking longship with thoughtful service, destination-focused dining, and cultural enrichment on board and on shore. With small ships that bring travelers closer to the destination, there's more time to explore. And every Viking voyage is all-inclusive, with no children and no casinos. Discover more at Viking.com.
What was that? That is business phone bliss with the Ooma Cloud phone system. It handles all our voice, video, and messaging needs.
You sound very...
Calm, I am. Ooma has everything I need to run my business more efficiently, like virtual receptionist, call routing, and video conferencing. And it starts at just $19.95 per month per user, plus taxes and fees.
Ooma.
Nice. Find your business comm at ooma.com/radio.
Emergency traffic on KSL News Radio, brought to you by Mountain America's Double Rewards credit card promotion. Southbound 15, it's a crash in Riverdale just after the Riverdale Road overpass. They're forcing you out of the left lane. And as a result, the delays from that are causing backups, or the delays from that are starting further north, all the way back just after the 31st Street on-ramp, so down past the I-84 interchange. You can split off to I-84 and go south on Highway 89 if you want, but at that point, I don't know if that's worth the extra travel time. It will be direct and put you back on I-15 south of the base, though. And then in Utah County, we've got some southbound delays on I-15 right now in American Fork, approaching Pioneer Crossing and then continuing down towards the 500 East exit. When you need the financial products and services for every stage of life, Cypress Credit Union is there for whatever the future holds. Visit cypresscu.com today. KSL weather, breezy today and tomorrow with highs close to 100 both days. Then a small dip in temperatures on Wednesday with a high of just 93 degrees. Right now it is already 86 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake City. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
So, Greg, have you ever made the decision to check your socks for holes on your way to the airport?
No, but I check my shoes for the painful level it is to put them on without a shoehorn when I go to the airport. And I think I've got to wear something that I can get on and off and not hold up traffic when I get to the TSA line, because I just don't like that taking off your shoes and walking through and stumbling through in your bare feet.
Yeah, well, so we have with us Jay Evenson, director. You can be director of the Deseret News Opinion section. So he's the Deseret News Opinion editor, but I love this line in his recent article about that annoying habit of, or a rule of, taking off your shoes. He says, say goodbye to the TSA sock hop.
Yeah, so last week it started sort of trickling through. People were noticing that, hey, they're not requiring me to take my shoes off at the airport in different places around the country. And there were numerous reports. The New York Times came out with a list of states where it knew they weren't requiring it. And then all of a sudden, Homeland Secretary Kristi Noem came out and made the official announcement that it's going away. You don't have to take your shoes off anymore at the airport. And I've been reading a lot of interesting comments from experts in the field who say, it really wasn't very effective to begin with. And we owe this 19-year practice to Richard Reed, who was kind of a hapless Al-Qaeda-trained British national who tried to set fire to his socks or shoes on a flight to Paris. And he wasn't successful, and people began to smell the sulfur smell, and pretty soon the passengers and crew subdued him. And nobody has ever tried to do that since. And yet eventually, and it wasn't until 5 years after that. That happened in 2001. 5 years later, TSA made it an official rule that you had to take your shoes off at airports. And it's always been questionable why we had to do that and how much safer we were because we were taking it off. And in the meantime, it slowed the process down. And, you had to have TSA agents yelling at you to take your shoes off and put them in the bins. Those bins are moving down the conveyor belt, and you're trying as hard as you can to get your electronics and your jacket and your belt and everything out of your pockets. And then you have to take your shoes off. It's probably the most stressful part of any vacation or any trip that you take.
It probably is.
And if you're running late, boy, trying to put them on, like you said, Greg, the shoes afterwards.
So did you say, Jay, that some of this has already gone into effect?
It is in effect immediately, yes. She made an announcement. It was sometime last week, I think Tuesday, Wednesday, and said it was in effect immediately.
It seemed like kind of a silly thing anyway, and I'm not sure whether, and you've read from experts and some commentators, whether or not it actually did anything, whether we found things or whether the millions of people whose shoes we were able to have looked at ever produced anything. I would assume that what we learned is that people aren't sneaking things in that are problematic in their shoes.
Well, one of those I read is Anthony Fisher, who's a senior editor at MSNBC, and he said it was always security theater. The performance illusion through mass inconvenience and generalized suspicion that we'll all be safer if we just do the security hokey pokey and turn ourselves around before we get on a plane. I like that.
Okay, let's talk about something that is a little more problematic, and that's guns. And let me just say this, Jay, from my own experience as an attorney, not as a person who brings guns into the airport, it seems like every month I have a client who goes to the airport and has a gun in their briefcase, and I believe them that they forgot that they had it, that they didn't realize they had it. And right now, and I'd like to hear your take on this, Salt Lake City Airport, they don't really treat that the way they did 10 years ago, where you've got a gun and they take everybody into custody. They basically say, okay, we're going to give you a citation, take your gun. You're probably going to miss your flight. But it's incredible to me the number of people that are still going to the airport with a gun saying, oops, I forgot I had a gun.
Well, this is America, right?
Right, yes, right.
So yes, the TSA last year in 2024, they reported intercepting 6,678 firearms at security checkpoints, and 94% of those were loaded.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I think you're right. So other statistics I found, there are 120 guns in America for every 100 people.
Oh, wow.
So we have more firearms in circulation than we have people in this country. A lot of people carry one everywhere they go every day. And it's kind of like, I put on my wedding ring or whatever. It's just something that you do and you don't think about. And yeah, it's probably true but as evidenced by the fact that we haven't had a lot of guns going off in the air. And my question is, if there's 120 guns for every 100 people and we confiscated just under 7,000 last year, what about all the guns we missed? And the TSA used to publish an audit once a year of their security system. And the news was horrible. I mean, it was like, 70-80% of the things that undercover investigators tried to get through TSA, they were successful in getting through. So TSA stopped publishing those reports. I assume that they're still doing them. I haven't seen one since 2017.
Wow.
But I think the public needs to know, how effective is this? And we have had incidents where guns have gone off at checkpoints. We had one memorable incident where a pilot accidentally discharged a gun in mid-flight. People still have them, and I think we need to focus on this. This, to me, is the big issue, not what you might be carrying in your shoes.
In your shoe, right.
Look, I have to share a story from when our family, when I was growing up, we moved to France from the United States, and we went through whatever security they had. This would have been 1977. And I had twin brothers at the time that were 3 years old. And back in the day, we used to have cap guns. So one of them had just stuck the cap gun in his little backpack that he had on his back, and I remember my mom talking about how much of a heart attack the security officials are like, "What's in his backpack?" Right? Because he's a 3-year-old. Well, it's a little cap gun, and he couldn't take it on the plane. But one time I was traveling back home, and I had this little teeny, like literally like maybe 2-inch tall souvenir, and it had a little teeny pretend, not real, blade on a knife with like the name of the country on it or something like that. Got it confiscated. It's like, this wouldn't even break the skin. Like, what damage is this going to do, right? But I lost that. But, you can carry a gun on, apparently, if you just forget it's in your briefcase.
Well, we have to remember the original 9/11 hijackers used box cutters, right? And so small, very sharp instruments.
It's true.
The next thing that people want to see go away is the 3-ounce rule on liquids.
Oh, yes, right.
What are we really accomplishing with that? And aren't there other ways to determine if you're carrying some kind of explosive liquid than to just say everybody has to only carry 3 ounces?
And if you're a breastfeeding mom, we want you to sample your pumped milk, right? So thank you so much, TSA.
Yeah. Let's make it I think everyone thinks, yes, we need security at airports.
We do.
Let's make it effective and demonstrably, scientifically effective, and not just reacting to whatever someone tried to do at some point in time in history.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jay. Thanks for joining us again on Monday. Do you remember the awful news a year ago?
No, just a few months ago.
Air India plane crash killed 270 people. Let's stay at the airport and get the preliminary reports that are pointing to pilot error when we come back.
You bought a house, or maybe you're building one, but it just isn't feeling like home. Not yet. AMC Building Materials has this undeniable knack for transforming a house into a home, your home. How do they do that? They combine years of exceptional kitchen and bath creations with your ideas. In fact, customer satisfaction is their #1 priority. You know what you want. You know it's not going to be cookie cutter, and this is exactly where AMC shines. AMC delivers exceptional quality, bold-style kitchen and bath designs, along with their exceptional value and a timeline you'll love. Most projects are complete by the elite AMC professional installers in under 10 days. Immerse yourself in the beauty, function, and feel in person at the AMC Building Materials showroom in Salt Lake City. Get directions and schedule your free estimate at amckitchenslc.org. AMC Building Materials, transforming your house into a home. amckitchenslc.org.
Visit the contest page on KSLNewsRadio.com. This week, you can win a pair of tickets to Lagoon. Lagoon, it's what fun is. Or win free tickets to an upcoming Real Salt Lake home match. While you're there, nominate a teacher to be featured on the KSL Teacher Tribute Wall, presented by Cypress Credit Union. What are you waiting for? Enter now. Text the word contest to 57500 or go to KSLNewsRadio.com/contests.
Amanda, we love talking about Utah Community Credit Union, and guess what? They just got news that they saved their members over $40 million in 2024 alone.
And UCCU is opening 4 new branches in the Salt Lake Valley, which means 6 total now. They have 21st South, Taylorsville, Sandy, Magna, Harriman, and Draper.
And to celebrate these new branches, UCCU is offering some amazing opportunities. First of all, $150 cash just for setting up direct deposit with your UCCU account.
They'll give you up to $250 cash just for transferring any existing loan from another institution to UCCU.
And here's the big one, giving away 10 amazing prizes, including, get this, a brand new 2025 Jeep Wrangler.
So you heard that right. A brand new Jeep Wrangler could be yours, and no purchase is necessary. You don't even have to be a member.
Anyone can enter. It's easy. All you've got to do is go to uccu.com and sign up. So enter to win today.
UCCU.com. Find out more about Utah Community Credit Union, where you're going to love where you bank.
This week's movie show brought to you by Sound Sleep Medical. Get a free sleep screening and a free sleep consultation by tuning in on Friday morning. Sound Sleep Medical with 7 locations in Utah.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Brad's day is off to a slow start. So he heads to AutoZone, where batteries are as low as $89.99. Sammy, a local AutoZoner, tests his battery for free. Looks like he just needs a charge. And Sammy does that for free too. In no time at all, Brad is back on the road, ready to finish the day strong. Free battery testing and charging at every store. No hassles, just help.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
This is the story of the one.
As a safety manager at a manufacturing plant, he does everything he can to keep his coworkers safe. From finding ways to reduce risks to keeping safety supplies in stock. And for that, he relies on Grainger. Grainger offers a broad range of quality products and next-day delivery, so he can always play it safe. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Emergency traffic brought to you by Mountain America. We've got a crash southbound I-15 in Riverdale. It's in the road construction zone, but also blocking the left lane and what's little bit of a shoulder you have. So traffic is at a crawl backed up to I-84, actually before I-84, almost to 31st Street in Ogden. That's going to take you a bit of time to get through. Wasatch Front businesses and property managers, GoPave Utah provides all asphalt repairs for your parking. For patching and paving along the Wasatch Front, contact GoPave Utah, gopavutah.com. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Getting help with electrical repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
When it comes to vaping, the truth can get clouded. So let's make it clear. Vaping is not safe for youth.
Because vaping can put microscopic particles into your lungs.
And dangerous things like metals into your body.
And nicotine, which can harm a person's brain development through their mid-20s.
With appealing flavors, high nicotine levels, and lots of promotion on social media.
Many kids think vaping is harmless, but it's not.
So talk to your kids about the risks of vaping.
Because when you talk, they hear you.
Learn more at underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
An expanded Inside Sources. Inside Sources.
You recall the plane crash, Air India plane crash I said a year ago. It was a month ago. They got to this investigation quickly, Holly, and the investigators came in and did the report. We're seeing a preliminary report. And if you recall, the plane crashed about 32 seconds after it had taken off. It barely cleared the airport, and it crashed into a medical training facility, and some people were having lunch in a cafeteria there. They were killed. Just some people on the ground. One person actually survived the wreck. One person that was in the aircraft survived the wreck. But we have now learned that the purpose of the crash, this is almost incomprehensible, is that one of the pilots shut off the gas, turned off the fuel system.
Basically, yeah. And that's, talk about scary, right? It's the fuel controls. There were two of them, actually, and they both were switched off one after the other. We actually have ABC's Clara McMichael, who covers transportation, to tell us a little bit more about that.
These are military-grade switches. They have to be lifted up and moved to the next position. It's not something where you just bump your elbow into it and it can shift one way or another. Experts I've spoken with say it's impossible that these switches would have been moved accidentally. Now, 10 seconds after the switches were turned off, one of the switches was turned back on, the other switch shortly thereafter, but there just wasn't enough time for the engines to recover, and that's what led to the plane crash.
That's almost unbelievable that something like that could happen. And it's remarkable to me, Holly, that this hasn't happened in the past. Although maybe it's just so obvious that you don't flip off the fuel switch.
Well, one of the things in one of the news articles that I read said the report does not indicate whether this was accidental or deliberate. They don't know for sure. So in the black box recording, right, we know these black boxes that exist. One of the things that we learned from that is that one of the pilots asked the other pilot, why did you move those switches? Why did you cut off the fuel? And former pilot and ABC News contributor Steve Ganyard explains the interaction between the pilots as they noticed this on the black box recording.
I have not prepared on this yet.
So
Here we go. I've been listening to you.
We do know that one of the pilots asked the other pilot, why did you move those switches? Why did you cut off the fuel to both of the engines? The other pilot said, I didn't do it.
Yeah, so they did get that recording, and I apologize to our audience that I was asleep at the wheel there. The cockpit recording, hey, why did you turn this off? Exactly what you just said, Holly, and the other pilot said, I did not do so. Then it appears from what they've gathered here that the switches were flipped back on, but by then I guess the engines had lost all power and they don't just kick back in.
Well, right. If you've ever run out of gas, you probably never have, but I have. I've driven my car until I die on the side of the road. It starts to sputter as you start to lose gas, and I can imagine you're 3 seconds into this flight was when the first one was switched off. and then the next one shortly after that. And by the time you turn it back on, they had not gained enough elevation to be able to, overcome that lack of fuel.
Yeah, I have one of those old school motorcycles where you literally turn the gas on and off.
Oh, wow.
And so a friend of mine borrowed it this summer, and he forgot to turn it on, and he called me. He goes, "Hey, your motorcycle's not running, and I just ran your battery down." I go, "Well, did you turn on the gas?" Oops. So I had to go buy a new battery. But, it's one thing of the motorcycle where you stop on the side of the road and you feel like an idiot, but it's another thing when you're driving an aircraft, and you would expect that there was just that. I am surprised that this is something that's sort of I've never heard it before.
Yeah.
I guess the question is, was it intentional? And ABC's Lama Hassan at the foreign desk explained that other deliberate plane crashed where the co-pilot intentionally brought down planes.
There have been at least 2 deliberate plane crashes in recent years. The German Wings co-pilot intentionally bringing down the plane in the Alps, killing 150 people on board. And Egypt Air Flight 990, the co-pilot crashing the aircraft 60 miles south of Nantucket.
I remember those stories, right? And it's just like, oh my goodness. I think I think maybe it was the German Wings co-pilot, but he had been suicidal, and that's how he chose to take his own life, but he took 150 people with him.
Yeah, so this one seems, especially since the switches were flipped back on, of course it may have been by the other pilot, I don't know how it works exactly, but you wouldn't think if you were going to crash an aircraft intentionally, you would just turn the gas off. I mean, I don't know.
Look, I don't know. And that's
possible.
only speculation on our part, right? This is just the preliminary report. But what we have right now is a 15-page document that says, look, we can tell you why this happened. They don't know all the details behind the why, right? And maybe there was just some confusion. But it sounds like even from that first reporter that we heard, these are not things you can bump by just, accidentally knocking it with your knee or hitting it with your elbow. I mean, it has to be deliberate.
Yeah, military-grade switches, you literally have to pull them up, lift it up to move it to the next position. It doesn't just slide over.
Right.
You have to do 2 actions to move
that
it
makes
over.
Sense.
Yeah, of course, so that you're not just kicking it or moving it or something like that.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming there's some fairly bright line markers on it, too, that says, do not switch
off.
off. Right.
Yeah.
I can see. I was wondering why they would even have such a switch, but I can see perhaps if the plane's taxiing and there seems to be a fire or there's something else going on, you can shut it off quickly and avoid that. I was just trying to think why the pilots would have access to an on-off switch for their fuel. There must be some safety reason for that. And maybe while they're just parked and they're taxiing, they don't turn it on anyway. You would know right away if you're not getting fuel, it's not going to be running. But yeah, I mean, and I'm surprised also at the speed at which we've got this report back already.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it's a preliminary report. What did we say? 270 people killed, but they've already got a report in saying it was pilot error. And most of the times when you look at aircraft disasters, it's almost always pilot error.
One of the things that struck me actually is because Boeing had been in the news, just a variety of reasons, right? And this was a Boeing aircraft, and so there was initially some chatter that this is, Boeing's fault. But I think this preliminary report shows it wasn't a problem with the aircraft.
Yeah, this was one of the aircraft. I forget the name of it. The something liner. That's one of the most popular.
I think the Dreamliner.
Yeah, the Dreamliner. It's one of the most popular aircraft in the world right now. There are thousands of them, and they've got millions of hours on them. Very safe. They have a very good safety history. And this was one that I'm sure Boeing was going, what's going on?
This was their first big fatal crash. I think it was their first fatal crash.
Because it seems to be a very well-made aircraft, but anything's possible. And so now what we'll do is go through and it's going to cost a fortune to retrofit every aircraft with something that will disallow this from occurring in the future. But Boeing probably has to do something, or at least make it.
I don't know.
Make it a little bit. Maybe not. Maybe there's a reason why you have to have these switches in place so that you can turn the fuel off. But you would also expect there's got to be something that comes as a result of this.
Well, in India, for sure, they're already taking action. So this is an article I'm reading from a source from the UK. And they just say that India's aviation regulator has ordered all the country's airlines to examine fuel switches on Boeing aircraft, right? So they're saying, okay, maybe he did just really bump it accidentally. And so at least on the India side, they're saying we're going to look at all the Boeing aircraft in our country.
And you wonder how long it can last when you shut the fuel off. I mean, the flight's in the air, like 2 seconds later, everything's shut down. They flip them back on, hoping they'll recharge. I mean, that's almost impossible. So it's just awful to think about this. And the people on board, what are they thinking? They're just barely in flight. And then it crashes into a building.
I don't even know that they have time to think. Remember, you have the one survivor who just said it just all happened so fast, right? It hit the ground, and if you remember from those really awful videos that we saw, it hit the ground. He was able to actually escape, but then there was just this huge giant fireball, and if you didn't die on impact, you died in the fire.
You died in the fire. Horrible tragedy. Interesting results coming out of that. And just when we were done, which we thought we were done talking about the big, beautiful bill and spending bills in Congress, surprise, D.C. Republicans plan to have another reconciliation bill ready this fall. I don't even know what that could be.
Oh, my gosh. It just seems so crazy. It's like we just have been talking about spending, and now we're talking about let's spend some more.
So we'll be talking about that after the break. A new reconciliation bill ready this fall.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Jessica Lowell. KSL's top story this hour, a deadly crash in West Valley City overnight, and now police say the 20-year-old suspect pretended to be a witness. KSL News Radio's Randall Jepson has more.
The crash on Sunday was between 3 different cars along State Route 111 and 5200 South. One person died, 3 were rushed to the hospital, but others involved, police say they ran off. Investigators say they spotted a 20-year-old walking down the street. They questioned him, and he said that he witnessed the crash. He even filled out a witness statement under a fake name. But they found out a couple of hours later his real name was Osvaldo Segovia.
Police say the suspect smelled like alcohol, and he did not have a driver's license. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. President Trump says he'll punish Russia with tariffs if there isn't a deal to end the war with Ukraine in the next 50 days. The president made the announcement today during an Oval Office meeting with the NATO Secretary General. There are new questions about why a wildfire was allowed to burn in Grand Canyon before it overtook historic buildings in recent days.
The Grand Canyon Lodge was the only lodging on the north rim of the Grand Canyon, now gone, taken by fire, along with a visitors center, gas station, and other buildings. The Dragon Bravo fire began on the 4th of July from lightning. It was being managed by the National Park Service as a controlled burn, but in recent days it took off on them, and now the governor of Arizona is calling for an independent investigation for deciding to allow it to burn during the hottest, driest part of the year, leading to it getting out of control. Alex Stone, EBC News.
Your money at this moment, a green day on Wall Street. Dow up 26 points. Coming up, triple-digit temperatures in the forecast again. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 11:02.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
This summer, Bear Lake Convention and Visitors Bureau invites you and the family to celebrate Raspberry Days, August 7th through the 9th. Join the fun with a festive parade, live music, food vendors, craft booths, and kids' rides at Heritage Park and Garden City. Don't miss the pie-eating contests, bingo, fishing tournament, and of course, Bear Lake's famous Raspberry Shakes. Cap it all off with the sparkling boat light parade and fireworks over the lake. Then, as the leaves turn gold and the air grows crisp, fall into adventure at Bear Lake. Explore scenic trails, cozy up by the fire, and check out the 2nd annual MMA Fierce Fighting Championship event and Bear Lake Brawl Demolition Derby. Whether it's summer fun or fall thrills, plan your escape today. Lodging, events, and year-round paradise just outside your back door. Visit bearlake.org. bearlake.org.
Do you currently use a CPAP machine to treat sleep apnea? Are you looking for a smaller, more comfortable solution? Consider a custom-fitted oral appliance from Sound Sleep Medical. In many cases, these appliances can be as effective as CPAP, and oral appliances are usually covered by insurance or Medicare. To make an appointment or to learn more, call Sound Sleep Medical at 801-285-9731. That's 801-285-9731, or visit soundsleepmedical.com.
Tim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors. I want you to know that it's the little things that count. Any remodeler can say they treat customers right when it comes to siding, gutters, windows, and exteriors. It's hard to know for sure. If a contractor uses cheap generic nails instead of super grippy ridge shaft nails for your siding, would you even know? If they use cheap $4 caulk to install your new windows instead of paying $9 a tube for the good stuff, could you tell by looking? It all comes down to the details and trust. At RGS Exteriors, we only do things one way, the right way. We never cut corners. We never skimp on details. We never do less than the job requires. That's why we offer our industry's exclusive 10-year everything guarantee. And it's why we have the happiest customers. If you need any gutters, siding, or replacement windows, call RGS Exteriors at 801-280-3110 or visit rgsutah.com. That's 801-280-3110 or online at rgsutah.com.
Register for Jazz Youth Camps and Clinics, brought to you by PB Fit. Whether you're a beginner interested in learning basketball basics or an advanced player wanting to hone your skills and techniques, there's a camp for you. Let's go! All kids ages 4 to 17 are welcome. You'll get the chance to learn directly from Utah Jazz Camps and Clinics coaches and jazz personalities at select camps at various locations throughout Utah, even the Jazz practice facility. If you love the Jazz and the game of basketball, this is an opportunity you can't miss out on. Register for your spot now at jazzyouth.com.
Emergency traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America's Double Rewards credit card promotion. What's going on the roads, Heather Kelly?
Well, we had a crash southbound I-15 in Riverdale in Weber County. Now, they just pulled away. All the emergencies vehicles pulled away about 30 seconds ago, so all your lanes are now open. But unfortunately, you have traffic at a crawl and backed up to 31st Street in Ogden. That's almost 3 miles. So just be aware that's going to take you a bit of extra time to get through that you don't expect this time of the day. The rest of the roads are in pretty good shape if you're going through Utah, Salt Lake counties, as well as I-80 through Parleys. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Things will stay hot over the next week. A high of 89 today, 100 tomorrow. We could see some pop-up storms in central and southern Utah later this week. Right now, it's 88 degrees and sunny. I'm Jessica Lowe from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
I'm always glad to have Holly Richardson as my co-host, but especially when we're talking about legislation and Congress and the follow-up today to the One Big Beautiful Bill, because I have a question. Republicans are now talking about a reconciliation bill to be ready this fall. What is a reconciliation bill?
Well, it's the process that they're using to pass these budget bills, right? So you have this normal process, which in the Senate will take 60 votes to get through. But if you're doing these budget bills, then you only need 50 votes, right? And if you remember, it passed with J.D. Vance had to come in and make it 51 to 50
and 1, right,
to pass the Senate. So it really, it's supposed to limit what people can put in the bill, right? But it also changes the process. But what really blows my mind is that we, like literally last week, just over a week ago, I guess, because it was July 4th.
4th of July, yep.
Passed this gigantic bill, increases the deficit, increases the debt ceiling, increases our credit limit, and now Congress is already talking about passing another one this fall.
A reconciliation bill 10 days after the One Big Beautiful Bill.
Yeah, so we have Cami Mondo on the line with us. She's the Deseret News congressional correspondent. She's got all the brains behind this. What can you tell us about this next reconciliation bill?
Yeah, absolutely. So as you were just saying, there are very specific rules as to what you can actually fit into a budget reconciliation bill. And so we saw a lot of those provisions in the first one. A lot of things were taken out. A lot of things had to be reworked as the Senate parliamentarian kind of ruled what could fit in. And so with the second one that they're going to try to work through in the next few months, it seems like a lot of what they couldn't get in the first time, they're going to try again to put it into a second package.
So let me just ask you right off the bat, if they couldn't put it in the first one, how can they put it in the second one?
Right, and there's just like very tricky, provisions or how things get ruled in or out. I guess how you phrase things, how long you put in for timing, whether it's how much something will cost. There are little things you can do to tinker with the language that somehow you can get these provisions in. How they'll do that is not really clear. And, obviously if they had taken a little more time with this first one, they probably could have put those things back in. Jody Arrington, who runs the House Budget Committee, was talking a little bit about that. But yeah, it seems like they're going to have to tinker with language and get very nitty gritty to get these things in.
How much of this, Cammie, could be tied to the sort of the quickness with which the One Big Beautiful Bill was passed, especially after it got to the Senate, and even more especially after it left the Senate, and maybe House Republicans saying, "Wait a minute, let's tweak this and let's reconcile what we've done here."
Right, and it seems like the second package in a lot of ways is going to be like a redo for some of these Senate Republicans, especially House Republicans. And you had Ron Johnson in the Senate, who did ultimately vote against this first package, but he was saying that, he has assurances from the White House that he could actually make some changes to some of the Medicaid cuts and things that were passed in the first one. That's why he didn't like it. So it's really not clear, what exactly they want to put in this. It's not clear how quickly they can go through it. It's also not clear why they're doing it at all. You have a lot of Republicans who are confused with leadership already talking about a second and maybe third one, kind of saying, let's just do legislating the normal way, but we'll see how fast they can work.
So I'll just give you my personal opinion. It's because midterms are coming in November of 2026, and they know that they might not have the majority come November of 2026. That's my personal opinion. Let me ask you, do you have any idea, since it's we just barely passed one, do you have any idea what the price tag might be on this next one?
That is a good question. We don't have any idea, how much this one could cost. We don't know exactly what's going to be put in there. I think those are the questions that they're trying to work through right now. But I think that, the last package that we just saw had a lot to do with cuts, and so that's why there was so much spending cuts that they had to find. So it's not really clear how much they're going to be able to find or if they'll be able to offset the costs in a similar way they did in this last bill.
Cammie, I'm looking at your article, and there was some question about what would this reconciliation package focus on, and one of the things you mentioned was things that just didn't quite make it into the One Big Beautiful Bill, which seems to me, in light of Holly's definition, maybe isn't really a reconciliation, or maybe it is.
Right. So, yeah, Jody Arrington was specifically pointing to two different things that had to do with Medicaid provisions that were ripped out. Basically, Republicans are trying to restrict Medicaid funding that can go to certain things like gender transition procedures or, whether illegal immigrants can access those benefits. Those are things that were taken out before they are voting just because the parliamentarian said as written it didn't adhere to the rules. But it's not clear, sometimes, you want to get political with partisan with what you want to put in there, but you can't be partisan with a budget reconciliation package.
So one of the things that I wonder about is there any conversation, and again, I know this is all preliminary, but is there any conversation about trying to figure out how to put in land sale back in? That was something that Representative Celeste Malloy from Utah and Senator Mike Lee, they were both on board with that, and ultimately it was stripped out.
Right, and that's a good question. I wonder if Mike Lee is looking at that. He said that it didn't adhere to the Byrd rule, which is, that specific language that you have to follow to get it in. I don't think the parliamentarian ever actually ruled on his latest language, so it might be able to fit something in there, but that was also just a provision that a lot of Republicans oppose, so if it is in there, it's not even clear if it would pass just because so many Senate Republicans don't like the idea of selling off public lands.
And I'm wondering if there's also a little bit of second thought, Cammie, with respect to Medicaid and the fact that so many people are being cut back. Maybe it's too early to even consider that, but as midterms approach, like Holly said, maybe some of these congressional representatives are thinking perhaps just to take a second look at that or another look at that.
Right, and it seems like that will definitely be in the conversation, especially for those Senate Republicans who used those Medicaid cuts as a reason to vote against the package altogether. And, that Medicaid is going to be a huge talking point ahead of the midterms, as you said. So it could be something that maybe they try to reverse what they've done. But yeah, we just aren't sure yet.
I want to do just a tiny bit of a pivot. So there are some energy tax credits in the big, beautiful bill that passed, and we know that Senator John Curtis kind of championed those. There's some concerns from Senator Curtis and others, I think, because of an executive order that President Trump signed last week, I think. Can you talk to us just really briefly about that?
Absolutely. And so I actually was talking to a few lawmakers who were part of those discussions, and they did say that executive order was part of the assurances that the White House gave to get them on board. And so the executive order is a little bit vague, but it kind of says that, the administration would basically have control over how those tax credits are repealed. I talked to Curtis about that a little bit last week, asking if he was concerned that it would undo all of that progress he put in the bill. And he said, yes, he is worried. He's taking a close look at it. He's going to stay in conversation with the White House. And I said, I asked if, he would push back if the White House does try to repeal those credits quicker than what the bill said. And he basically, was saying, the package is law now, and, the White House can't undo that. So it seems like he'd be gearing up for a fight if that's what's needed.
Interesting. Thank you for joining us, Cami. We've been speaking with Cami Mondo, the Deseret News congressional correspondent. She's so great to join us all the time.
She is. Holly, surprised that we're already talking about a reconciliation? I mean, we're literally a week and a half after the bill was passed.
I am surprised and I am disappointed. And sometimes I wonder, what are you thinking? How do you think this is going to play with the public when you say we have just spent this massive amount and it's going to be for your good? Trust us. But by the way, we're going to go spend some more.
Yeah. When we come back after the break, President Trump is annoyed at, of all people, Rosie O'Donnell, and threatened to revoke her U.S. citizenship. Can he even do that? We'll talk about that after the break.
You've built the dream, the home, the lifestyle, the legacy. Now it's time your windows and doors reflect that same $1 million standard. Whether you're designing a stunning custom home or upgrading the one you've loved for years, Peach Doors and Windows is here to bring that vision to life with precision, style, and craftsmanship.
The Peach specialty? High-end custom windows and doors that don't just fit your space, they elevate it. From sleek modern lines to timeless elegant finishes, they offer the kinds of craftsmanship that truly complements a $1 million space. And with Peach, the process is easy. No pressure, no gimmicks, just knowledgeable experts helping you find solutions to turn your someday project into right now.
Visit their spacious showroom, get inspired, and create something beautiful together. Peach Doors and Windows for the $1 million home you live in and the $1 million feeling you deserve. Visit peachdoorsandwindows.com or call 801-566-1255 today.
That's Peach Windows and Doors. Give them a call, 801-566-1255.
If you've got a gas-powered engine, keep it running like new at every fill-up. Stable in-season protection is your engine's preventative medicine, cleaning and protecting the entire fuel system in season. In outdoor power equipment, prevent gum and varnish buildup that could cause a rough or non-running engine. For cars and trucks, increase fuel efficiency and power by removing deposits, ensuring your engine's long-term health. Stable outperforms the competition in independent lab testing. So at every fill-up, start with Stable.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. No, we're not one of the big guys. Truth is, we don't want to be. If you're over 50, Big Wireless probably has you paying for more data than you might need. You could be throwing away thousands over a lifetime. We're not here to be the biggest. We're here to bring you something we believe is better. Our plans start at just $20. You'll get the same fast nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill.
Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com/facts. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional facts.
Peak summer fun is here, and so are peak summer savings during the Utah Summer RV Sale, presented by Bish's RV. July 17th through the 19th at the Shops of Southtown. We're bringing you sizzling summer savings on new and used RVs. We're packing the parking lot with smoking deals for every budget. Shop new and used travel trailers, fifth wheels, toy haulers, motorhomes, and more. Like travel trailers starting under $119 per month on approved credit. 90 days of all play and no pay OAC. Plus, trade up when you trade in your current RV. Get an additional $500 value added to your current travel trailer, or an additional $1,000 added to your current fifth wheel or Class C motorhome when you trade it in. You'll also get a Blackstone Adventure Ready grill with any RV purchase during the sale. And this is the only summer show to feature the entire lineup from Wayfinder RV, exclusively at Bish's. Don't miss your best chance for an epic second half of summer during the Utah Summer RV Sale. 3 days only, July 17th through the 19th at the shops at Southtown. See you there. Based on approved credit, 20% down, 8.99% APR for 180 months. Stock number 81734. Subject to prior sale. See the details. Deal number 426B.
Hey, gang, it's Big Jim Smith. I am now retired, and I'm a full-time radio listener, and I'm glad I am. I had a unique situation of not being able to refi my house because I'm not employed. Despite the fact that I have lots of income, I have tons of assets, overcoming some hurdles made it impossible to get things together with banks or credit unions. So I contacted a guy I heard about right here on the radio, Rick Kirchenbaum at Loans by Rick. Best phone call I've ever made. Rick and his team at Vintage Lending were able to help me overcome some incredible hurdles, how to verify my income, all the things I needed to do to get my refi together, and they got me more cash out of my house than I expected. Do it. If you have problems getting your financing together, call Loans by Rick. You can trust Rick Kirchenbaum, Loans by Rick, and Vintage Lending. He is NMLS number 241179. Call him directly at 801-809-7283. That's 801-809-7283. Tell him Big Jim sent you. Loans by Rick.
I'm Andrew Saul, Commissioner of Social Security. I'm here to warn you about telephone scammers pretending to be government employees. Some of these scammers may say threatening things like you will be arrested if you don't make payments or provide personal information. Do not fall for these tricks. These calls are not from us. Real Social Security employees will never threaten you for information or money. If you receive a call like this, hang up. Never give the caller your personal information, like your Social Security number or bank account, or send money in any form, cash, gift cards, wire transfers, or prepaid debit cards. Report the call to our law enforcement arm, the Office of the Inspector General, at oig.ssa.gov. Share this information with your friends and family.
And expanded Inside Sources. Inside Sources.
So President Trump is annoyed at Rosie O'Donnell. And I think we've all been annoyed at Rosie O'Donnell at one point in our lives. But anyway, he's threatened to revoke her U.S. citizenship. The issue is, can he actually do that?
Well, that's my question for you, Mr. Legal Expert. I don't think he can. And look, he has been threatening that, right? He did it to Elon Musk, but Elon Musk was not born in the United States. He was born in a different country.
She was born here to U.S. citizens, and what he said was this: because of the fact that Rosie O'Donnell is not in the best interests of our great country, I am giving serious consideration to taking away her citizenship. She's not in the best interest of our country. I think he needs a little more than that.
Well, he doesn't think he does. But look, it's an ongoing feud. The two of them have been going at it on social media for probably since he was running the very first time. But she did move to Ireland at the beginning of this year, and she responded to him, and she basically said, I'm paraphrasing, bring it on. Yeah. Add me to the list.
Yeah, and she was pretty bold. I saw a post, I don't know if it was on Facebook or what, this weekend that she had written talking about what he does and what she does and comparing the two. You know, you've done this, I've done that.
Yeah.
Trump has said if she lives in Ireland right now. She might have dual citizenship, but he's saying if she wants to stay in Ireland, they can have her.
She also posted a picture of Donald Trump with Jeffrey Epstein, and that's been in the news, right? So she just is like, look, you know, I have a child with autism. I care about people with disabilities. And he calls her a threat to humanity, which really, I mean, come on.
So the reason we're talking about this is because he did make this a threat. And so I, of course, being the lawyer, had to look into the law and find out under what circumstances a person can lose their citizenship to the United States. And the Supreme Court has long held that what Trump is doing is not going to be work. They're not going to support that. I can't imagine that. But there are circumstances you can. For one thing, a person can renounce their citizenship, as you might expect.
Right.
You can say, I don't want to
You can voluntarily say, I don't want to be a citizen anymore.
Right. Or if you committed fraud as a part of your naturalization process, in other words, you lied to get citizenship in the first place, they can revisit that and take your citizenship away. So declaring allegiance to a foreign state, renouncing your citizenship, fraud in the process of naturalization. If you're convicted of treason against the United States, that would make sense. Then you can have your citizenship taken away, or an attempt to overthrow the government. Those are factors under which a person can lose their U.S. citizenship.
Well, I don't think Rosie fits into those categories.
No, right. There's also a couple that I didn't expect here, and I was looking at these, Holly. If you run for public office in a foreign country, sometimes that can affect your citizenship. And if you enter the military service in a foreign country, sometimes that can. And I suppose the sometimes might be if it's a country that's hostile to the United States, or you're taking a position politically that might be hostile. I don't know what the exemptions would that be, but I have seen some that some reasons, some ways that you could lose your citizenship that include running for political office or joining a military in another country.
Yeah. One of the reasons President Trump got mad at Rosie is because she did post that picture of him with Jeffrey Epstein, and he's kind of lashing out about everybody's going on and on about Epstein. Just stop talking about it, right? Which is actually a change from what he used to say about the Epstein files.
So she said one of her statements is this, and I'm going to need some help with this. Maybe you don't know. She said this: "You want to revoke my citizenship? Go ahead and try King Joffrey, Joffrey, with a tangerine spray tan," referring to the sadistic child king in Game of Thrones. I don't know King Joffrey.
So I don't know Game of Thrones either, except that this was a character.
He must be a bad guy.
Yeah, he's a bad guy, and he's a character in that show. And so a lot of people who follow pop culture more than you and I do would get that reference, which I'm sure is why she made it.
Yeah. King Joffrey. And then she said that the president of the United States has always hated the fact that I see him for who he is, a criminal con man, sexual abusing liar, out to harm our nation to serve himself. That's why I moved to Ireland. And of course, he's saying, well, why don't you go ahead and stay there and I'll take your citizenship away.
So right. I mean, again, we're seeing these spats in public, and I do like one line, though. She said, this is an Instagram post that she had, but she said, "I'm not yours to silence. I never was." Right. And she is, although she's a celebrity, she's still a private citizen who is generationally American. So it would be, I don't think possible for President Trump to unilaterally revoke her citizenship, even though he doesn't like her.
Right. It's too bad we're even having this conversation, but it was something that sort of tweaked me, because I thought, how can you just revoke somebody's citizenship if you're not the president? I mean, you look at these executive orders that he's done, and right. if the president can't do it, who can? And the law is maybe nobody, unless you're convicted of one of these. Well, right. I mean,
then that would say maybe the court system, but that kind of brings us to a broader conversation about executive orders, and every president uses them. They've been growing in popularity over the last several administrations, and yet we're having a discussion specifically on Rosie O'Donnell, but the broader discussion is, can President Trump just by executive order override the 14th Amendment, right? We were talking about birthright citizenship. Can he do that? So Rosie was born to U.S. citizen parents, but the birthright citizenship would apply if the child is born in the United States. It doesn't matter what the parent's citizenship is.
Right. And so that's something that we talked about last week, because a couple of things happened. One, I think 2 weeks ago, the Supreme Court said that these universal orders, these universal injunctions that judges across the country were imposing, and I think there were 3 different judges in 3 different jurisdictions who said that the executive order, banning birthright citizenship to people who are born here from people who are undocumented
or here on
visas,
yep,
that can't be supported anymore. A couple of people took that up to the court. The courts entered these injunctions and tried to make them universal. And federal courts, we have 51 if you include D.C. federal courts in Utah, and you would expect federal law is decided by a federal judge, and so what's good for one city should be good for another state. Doesn't matter. But the Supreme Court said, no, we don't like these universal orders, which is understandable. But a couple of the justices on the Supreme Court who dissented in that said you're missing the main question, which is can you even overcome the 14th Amendment with an executive order?
Right.
But the administration was really smart, Holly, when I look at what happened, how they got that case to the Supreme Court, because they didn't appeal the executive order about birthright citizenship. They appealed a judge's ability, a federal district court judge's ability to impose a universal injunction that applies to the whole country. And the Supreme Court said, no, you can't. But they did invite...
Class action lawsuit.
Right. You could potentially do this, and if it's part of a class action lawsuit. So guess what happened the day after the Supreme Court?
Class action lawsuit.
Class action lawsuit. And now a judge has issued an injunction against this executive order banning birthright citizenship for certain individuals because a class action lawsuit was filed in his or her court. That judge also took the step, Holly, to say, I'm going to stay my injunction and give the administration a week or 10 days, or forget what it was, to file their appeal. Of course, it'll go to the Court of Appeals before it goes to the Supreme Court, but that'll work its way up to the Supreme Court. Now we're talking about we may be getting into the guts of the executive order in the first place, and that is can you just overcome the 14th Amendment's birthright citizenship provision?
Right, and the Supreme Court deliberately did not rule on that. It felt like they potentially missed an opportunity, right, to weigh in, but at least at this point, we'll end up having some sort of conversation about can a president, by executive order, overturn a constitutional amendment that has been ratified. So the 14th Amendment's been in place, remember, I think 157 years.
Right after the Civil War ended, it was enacted to prevent people, at least this portion was enacted to prevent slaves from being deported.
Right. So could somebody override the 19th Amendment and take away my right to vote?
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing these executive orders are coming hard and fast in ways we have never seen before.
That's true.
And with mixed results. I mean, let's face it, some of them have withstood the test of the Supreme Court. Some have not. They're not stopping at any point anytime soon. When we come back after the break, this is a really interesting case out of France. Giselle Pelicot, I don't know if I've said her name correctly or not, was allegedly or was sexually assaulted by numerous men. Now she's just received France's highest honor. And I'll say this before we break. Some of what we may be talking about in the next segment may not be appropriate for some of our younger listeners. So just keep that in mind if you're joining us and you're listening to us, that some of the facts that we be talking about in the next segment may not be appropriate.
11:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Claire Scott. KSL's top story this hour. Bryan Head Resort wants to expand to almost 3 times its current size. The Forest Service will be reviewing the proposal, which details a 1,500-acre expansion into Dixie National Forest.
Yeah, there's growth that will come from that, whether it's chairlifts and ski runs, which are exciting, and additional on-mountain facilities. Currently, we don't have an on-mountain restaurant, as an example.
Bryan Head General Manager Tom Pettigrew says they've been working closely with the forest to build their proposal and welcome public comment. Starting tomorrow, the public has 45 days to submit their comments. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. The European Union says President Trump's 30% tariff on EU imports is unacceptable. At the White House today with NATO's Secretary General, Trump says he's open to negotiating.
The deals are already made. The letters are the deals. The deals are made. There are no deals to make. They would like to do a different kind of a deal, and we're always open to talk.
EU member states say they are also willing to work on a deal with the U.S. Your money at this moment, the Dow is up 56 points. The S&P is up 8 points. And coming up, highs in the hundreds. KSL Weather's next KSL News Time, 11:31.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
History had the gold rush, then came the oil boom, the tech boom, but right now it's the Wi-Fi boom, and Xfinity Wi-Fi is booming. Xfinity has everything you need to tap into the Wi-Fi boom with seriously powerful and seriously reliable connection. It's got 99.99% network reliability and incredibly low lag, so your streams are smoother than making a decision on what to stream. Did I mention you can even connect to hundreds of devices so you, your kids, your parents, your visitors, and whoever else is home can all experience the Wi-Fi boom with Xfinity. And the Wi-Fi isn't the only thing that's booming. Get the most reliable Wi-Fi and the best-in-class equipment for one consistent price for 5 years, guaranteed all in. Plus, get unlimited data included and no annual contract, all with the 5-year price guarantee from Xfinity. Visit Xfinity.com to learn more. Restrictions apply, not available in all areas. New residential customers only, select plans only. Xfinity Gateway and X-Fi Complete required for unlimited data except in certain areas. Most reliable Wi-Fi based on Open Signal Awards USA Fixed Broadband Experience Report August 2024. Actual speeds vary.
If you're a medical, wellness, or aesthetics practice owner who wants to enhance your profits and practice valuation while reducing your workload, this is a message you'll want to hear. The Hamlin Business Institute is holding the most transformative business class you'll ever take on Friday, August 1st in Salt Lake City. As a practice owner, this class can literally change your life and revolutionize your practice. With a 5-star Google review rating and certification by the DOPL for select professions, this class is meticulously crafted to meet your specific needs. Their previous participants rave about their experience. A staggering 96% are interested in additional classes from Hamlin Business Institute. 100% would recommend this class, and more than 3/4 said it was the most beneficial continuing education class they have ever taken. Sign up before July 20th and get a 40% discount with the code BUSINESS at HamlinBusinessInstitute.com. That's code BUSINESS at HamlinBusinessInstitute.com. Code BUSINESS at HamlinBusinessInstitute.com.
Are you having trouble hearing? Hearing loss can devastate the quality of your life. Now, there's an affordable fix for you or your loved one. Rated the best hearing aids of 2025 by Forbes Health, Audion Hearing has the highest quality hearing aids at the lowest prices, starting at just $98 a pair.
I actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aid.
I could not believe how my hearing and life changed.
Join over 1 million happy customers by going to audionhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com.
ZipRecruiter is the place. ZipRecruiter is the place for talented teachers, savvy software developers, and master mixologists. ZipRecruiter is the place where you meet all these people and more. That's because ZipRecruiter is the place for job seekers who are looking for new opportunities. In fact, ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day, so you can find the right candidates right away. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America's Double Rewards credit card promotion. Here's Ricky Meese.
Back to a good drive on all the Valley freeways, including I-15 through Weber County, particularly Riverdale. We do have the work zone causing some reduced speed southbound I-15 in Davis County as you go from Kaysville down to Lagoon. Deseret First Credit Union is turning 70, and now it's their turn to say thank you, with special member giveaways happening all year long. Visit dfcu.com to learn more. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
A high of 98 today with mostly sunny skies, a bit of breeze that sticks around into tomorrow when we could see highs reach 100 degrees. Right now it is 91 and fair. I'm Claire Scott from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at KSLNewsRadio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
It's now been a year, Holly, since the case of Jazelle Pelicot, a woman who was drugged and sexually assaulted by over 80 men, and it was drugged by her husband, filmed and placed in a position where this could occur. We remember the trial. It was just awful. I mean, the facts of the case were awful. But she not only testified, but introduced herself. We knew who she was. She had no problem. She wasn't Miss GP or Jane Doe or something like that. She came forward. She testified. She testified in person. He was convicted. And now we're hearing that she's receiving an honor.
That's right. So she just received today, I think, in France. The Knight of the Legion of Honor, which is France's top honor. Tomorrow is Bastille Day in France, which is basically their Independence Day, where they overthrew the monarchy and a couple of people lost their heads. Actually, it was more than a couple. But this case, I've been following this case since it first hit international news, and it would have been last fall, I want to say like maybe September or so. But let me just set it up. And again, for our listeners with kids right now, you may want to listen later to the podcast because it's pretty disturbing. So what happened is she and her husband moved to this little area of France. It's actually an area down in Provence, which is where I lived when I was a teenager. It's not exactly the same place, but close. It was just a quiet little community. And she had police come tell her that they had found information. They had found video files on her husband's phone when they arrested him for trying to film up somebody's skirt in a dressing room. And she's like, what are you talking about? And she saw herself unconscious and she was being raped. And she, like, it just took it was really mind-blowing, right? It took a while for her to realize that actually was her. And her husband, for years, had been drugging her, and then he was advertising on a website, specifically looking for people who were willing to come rape his wife and have him film it. Right. And he did that. And what you mentioned that she was willing to, not only willing, but she was open about her name and who she was. That is extremely unusual in France. France has very lax laws when it comes to rape and sexual assault, very lax. And here she was. They called this France's Me Too movement. She is changing laws in France because of her willingness to come forward. She's 72-year-old grandmother willing to come forward and say, this has happened to me.
And apparently France does have a greater anonymity rule than we do here in the United States with respect to cases like this. And so she had to waive her anonymity to testify, and she did. And she was and now, I mean, people know the name for horrible reasons, but good for her for doing that.
You know, one of the things that is, I think, so remarkable about this is she had to listen to her ex-husband's defense attorney make it her fault. She had to listen to some of the other men who had sexually assaulted her. One of them left his wife, who had just had a newborn baby, to go assault Jazelle, which is just like, I just can't even wrap my head around it. She had to listen to them blame her. But you know what she said? She said, this is not my shame to hold. This is their shame. And they, again, were trying to put the shame and blame on her. And again, France, very lax for a long time in their laws. But that is changing. And the French president, Emmanuel Macron, he said about her, not only when he gave this reward, but last year as well, when they finally had the verdict come down in December, but said that she's a trailblazer who her dignity and courage has moved and inspired France and the world. And that's absolutely true.
Yeah, she attended virtually every day of the trial. Like you said, it ended last December. He was convicted and given a maximum of 20 years in jail, which to us here in the States seems very lax, right, for aggravated rape. And he was convicted of having her been sexually assaulted by 50 men, at least 50 men, while she was basically comatose in bed. Who knows what the drug was that was used. And he was convicted and given 20 years in jail. He's 72. He was at the time. That's probably fairly close to a life sentence. But if not, it would seem to be a fairly light sentence.
Yeah, and again, it's looking at how do we change these laws, right? And France has had to have a real wake-up moment, I guess, to say, look, there have been people who have brought charges like this before, who have not been able to provide video evidence like she was about this case. And so she even had one of the people who assaulted her had his spouse come to court to testify that basically, I'm paraphrasing what she said, but basically men will be men, and he's a good dad and he's a good provider. And, you know, it's sad that this happened, but this is just what guys do.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know, the anonymity thing hit me pretty close, Holly, because our media here, especially in Utah, is very, very good about not disclosing the name of crime victims.
Right.
And our courts are very good about not disclosing the name of criminals and crime victims who are minors typically. We don't disclose that. However, it's available if you don't have to go too far in to look. But it's there for a reason. And she actually had the authority to do that. She could have said she had to waive it to have her name disclosed.
That's right.
We recall just a week or two ago, we had a case involving a very high-profile football player at BYU.
With Jane Doe.
Yeah, and it was Jane Doe with her initials, AG. We never knew who she was. We probably never will. That's highly unusual, at least in my context, in my practice, because even if you're filing, that was a civil suit. It wasn't even a criminal case.
Right.
Because in the criminal cases is when the media will typically protect the anonymity of the alleged victim or the victim.
Right.
But in civil cases, it's usually, so-and-so versus so-and-so, and the name's right there. I don't even know in Utah how that particular plaintiff, Jane Doe, in that Retzlaff case, was able to not disclose her name. But she did, and the case is dismissed, and it's over. We may never know, and I don't know that it's anybody. It matters at this point.
Right.
But if you're going to put yourself out there in the civil context, usually you would expect that you've got to stand up to the plate and face your accuser by your identification.
Right.
In the criminal context, we do have a Victims' Bill of Rights, which includes some level of anonymity and protection. But I would also say this, and I know I'm now a part of the media. Utah's media is incredible, even if you look at other states in the nation, with not disclosing victims' names. I don't know why they do that, but I do know why they do it, but I don't know why we're the exception, but we seem to be the exception. A lot of states don't protect the anonymity of victims like we do here in Utah.
Yeah, and in Utah too, people can choose to name themselves as the victim. They can do that, but I just think in this case specifically with Jazelle Pelicot, you mentioned 50 additional men were charged and found guilty of a variety of levels of crime, but there were 80 people. They couldn't even identify 30 of them from the videos. So we know that there were more assailants than that. But again, she just got France's highest honor, and I just want to say kudos to her. I, again, have been following this case. It takes a lot of bravery. Not only was she going against cultural norms, right, but a legal system that favored her abuser really more than it favored her, and kudos to her.
Right, and kudos to President Macron for putting her in that position and giving her that award. When we come back after the break, I want to ask you a question about your weekend.
Okay.
But as we come back for our last segment, I also want to talk to you about the Jurassic Park World movies and bringing back extinct animals, whether that's the smartest thing in the world to do. We'll be back.
It's time to hit the road and make this your summer of freedom with Motorsportsland's RV summer deals happening right now. Save thousands on the RV you've always wanted and get away in style, comfort, and luxury. Whether you're chasing sunsets or campfire nights, we've got the perfect trailer to get you there. If you're sitting at another dealer to make a deal and suddenly they're adding thousands for freight, prep, or orientation, that's your cue to run away and come to Motorsportsland, where what you see is what you pay. Our prices are real, no hidden charges, no gimmicks, and no pressure. We're a family-owned, local Utah dealership that's been helping people just like you get away for over 55 years. Plus, we offer flexible financing, expert service, and free training with every RV we sell. Adventure's calling, so don't miss your chance. Come in today and let Motorsportsland help you get away.
Let Motorsportsland help you get away.
Motorsportsland.com.
At KSL News Radio, we have a 30-year legacy of honoring Utah teachers, but we can't do it without your help. Please tell us about an important teacher in your life on the KSL Teacher Tribute Wall, presented by Cypress Credit Union. Each month, one lucky teacher wins a $500 gift card from Cypress Credit Union, a $250 gift card to Harmon's, plus season tickets to Hale Center Theater. Say thanks to your teacher today at kslnewsradio.com/teacher from Cypress Credit Union and KSL News Radio.
If you're ready to buy a home or sell a home and you're worried about the current real estate market because of what you've heard from some of your friends or family, well, We're here to tell you that you really shouldn't be worried because now is a great time to buy and sell with our friends at the Stern Team, powered by Almada Real Estate.
And here's why. Buyers have more options due to increased inventory, which gives them the power to negotiate for repairs, interest rate buy-downs, and closing cost assistance. While at the same time, sellers are still getting top dollar for their homes, with home values that are higher today than ever before. So whether you're looking to buy or sell, the current real estate market presents a win-win opportunity for both buyers and sellers.
But you still do want to make sure that you're working with a team of real estate experts you can trust that can get you some great results. And that's our friends at the Stern Team, powered by Almada Real Estate.
They have helped thousands of Salt Lake City homeowners, and they're ready to help you. To get started, just go to thesternteam.com. That's thesternteam.com, or Google The Stern Team.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Hey, that's the spirit. Right now, we're celebrating free with a free STP oil filter when you buy 5 quarts of oil and free Duralast brake pads when you buy 2 rotors. Like always, free battery testing, charging, and recycling at every store. Celebrate free at AutoZone, now through July 28th.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
This is the story of the one. As a lineman, he does whatever it takes to keep the power on in his community. And he wants a partner like Grainger who does the same. Grainger offers the professional-grade products he needs, from voltage detectors to harnesses to hard hats, plus fast, dependable delivery, so he can rise to every challenge. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This is Derek Miller speaking on business. Birthright was originally founded in 1983 as a custom computer manufacturer. Today, it expertly leverages industry-leading technologies in IT service, cybersecurity, and public safety technology to deliver innovative solutions that protect and empower organizations across various sectors. Account Executive Grady Smith joins us with more.
At Birthright, we believe great businesses and great communities deserve great cybersecurity. That is why we work with organizations right here in Salt Lake City to help them stay protected, connected, and resilient. Because no business wants to wonder whether they would survive a data breach. With Birthright, businesses get 24/7 threat detection and response, all managed by real experts here in the U.S. And for larger enterprises, we do more than just provide the right tools. We help simplify cybersecurity, integrate the best solutions, and co-manage security programs that can keep up with today's risks. Whether you're running a family business, a growing company, or a large enterprise, Birthright is here to be your trusted cybersecurity partner. We are proud to help protect your success and support the communities we all call home. Learn more at Birthright.com. That's BRITE.com.
Birthright's mission is to proactively protect organizations and communities through innovative technology solutions delivered by a talented expert team. They're dedicated to providing the highest quality services to help your business succeed. See how they can assist you today. I'm Derek Miller with the Salt Lake Chamber, speaking on business.
Any Hour Services can make sure your AC keeps you cool this summer. Whether you need a tune-up, repair, or just a second opinion about replacing it, call Any Hour Services or visit anyhourservices.com.
Inside Sources.
I remember reading in high school about the dodo bird, and this was a bird that lived on the island of Mauritius in the Indian Ocean, just by Madagascar. And it was a slow, kind of frumpy bird, but cute as it could be. But once the island became inhabited by humans, the bird had no prayer because it was flightless,
right?
And it was slow, and it didn't have any enemies on the island.
It probably tasted like chicken.
And then next thing you know, it's gone. And so people have thought, well, maybe we could bring it back one day. Well, we're learning that there's a group. These are the folks that are the Lord of the Rings director who wants to de-extinct, I guess that means bring back,
right,
a New Zealand bird that seems a little bit like the dodo bird.
Except it's really big, right? I mean, I've seen like drawings. This thing's got to be at least 6 feet tall, maybe taller. But look, over the weekend, I went and saw the new Jurassic World movie. And when I was walking out the door with my husband, my kids are like, "What are you going to go see?" And I'm like, "Watch people get eaten by dinosaurs." Right? So we know what happens when you're trying to bring back extinct species using DNA cloning, right? And that's what they're hoping to do.
At least we know in the movies what that means.
I know.
We have done it. We have done it. I mean, I think there was a sheep or something that we were able to.
Yeah, we cloned Dolly the
and
sheep.
Dolly the sheep, and of course, mankind is curious or concerned is a better word, where we're going. The sort of
You've got biogenetic
Pandora's
ethics,
box,
right?
right?
Yeah, right. So you can have all kinds of things. Right now, we have so much ability to alter DNA, including through the process of IVF with humans, right? That we can be specific in testing ahead of implantation whether a child has a genetic disease or something, the fertilized egg. So we also have, if you remember, we had the dire wolf, right? There's cute little pictures of these little fluffy wolves that are supposed to be, at least partial clones from extinct animals. And people are trying to bring back the woolly mammoth and do it by having it gestated by an elephant. But this would be totally different because this bird is not a mammal. They can't gestate it inside of something else, right? And so anyway, Peter Jackson is throwing a bunch of money at this, saying making movies is my day job, but this is what I do for fun. Something like $15 million to bring back this ancient bird.
The moa bird, which was wingless and only became extinct about 600 years ago due to overhunting by the early Polynesian settlers. So
tasted like chicken.
There probably is some bone fragment. There probably is some things that they're able to recover that would have some DNA.
There's a picture of him holding like the foot of one of these ancient moa birds, and this thing is like, I don't know what it's got to be, 3 feet wide. I mean, and he's standing next to the CEO of this I guess de-extinction firm. He's got a femur that's got to be, I don't know, 4 feet long or something like this. I mean, these are big. Big birds.
I'm looking at the foot thinking that would be you could put a little piece of glass on the top. It'd be a beautiful end table.
Yeah, I guess if that doesn't work, if they can't bring back the bird.
Yeah, at least make the feet into a stand.
We are very irreverent.
I'm sorry. So tell us about your weekend. When we talked Friday, you were leaving for a pretty special event that we talked about leading into the weekend, and I'm wondering if you attended it and what you thought.
I did. So we talked on Friday with Ryan Jensen, who's the church news editor for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and we talked about the 5,000th weekly episode of Music in the Spoken Word, which goes back 96 years, which is crazy long time, right? So
yeah, if you think about 5,000 continuous weekly episodes divided by 52 weeks in a year, 96 years of continuous broadcast of music in the spoken word.
So I did attend, and it was just really wonderful. They had the normal half an hour show from 9:30 to 10, but they also had a pre-show and then they had a post-show. And in the pre-show, what they did is they just kind of introduced some people who were there important to the choir. One of the people that they had stand up was a woman who was the oldest living former choir member in attendance, and she turns 99 next month. She's sang in the choir like in the 1960s or something. It was a long, long time ago.
Right.
They also introduced a couple who sing in the choir. They're a married couple who sing in the choir. Another one who's part of 6 generations who's been with the choir. They introduced somebody who had been with the symphony since it started, I think, 26 years ago. She and her husband have had 10 kids during that time, and she continues to play with the symphony. So just some fun stuff like that. But the presentation, the half an hour of music in the spoken word, very moving, great music. They had 3 conductors. So you had Mac Wilberg, who's the one who does it most of the time. You also had Craig Jessup come back, who used to be the conductor. And then for the very last song that they sang in that official portion, they used the baton that was used in the first production in 96 years ago, right? So
my word.
He led with that baton, and that was really great. But one of the things, I think my favorite part probably happened in the post-show portion of it, and they had sung some songs and they received an award, and then they called all former choir members who were sitting in the audience to come up. So choir members can serve 20 years or until they're age 60, and then they age out. And so no matter when they were, how long ago it had been, they invited everybody up to come sing the last 2 songs, Battle Hymn of the Republic, and then God Be With You Till We Meet Again. And so you had like 400 people from the audience come up and come to the front, and they all sang. It was emotional.
It had to be powerful.
So powerful. So many beautiful voices, right? And I saw somebody on social media said, "Oh, Holly, you should have sung with us." No. My musical ability goes to appreciation only, really, and singing in the car. But it really was a really great event, and had an opportunity to see, a lot of people that I knew, and I know several people in the current choir and people who've been in the choir before, so it was really great.
Yeah, my mother was in a choir that she created and that traveled around various churches and ward houses and performed. And she not only sang but performed the piano and organ. And I realized from her how difficult it was even to get to her level, let alone the Mormon Tabernacle Choir, which is just an honor. I mean, people that join that and have the ability to participate in that are really
It has a new name too. It's the Tabernacle Choir at Temple Square now, since we've shifted away from Mormon.
Right.
Yeah, but look, I wanted to ask you about your weekend, because you had some stuff planned that was not, in my opinion, not nearly as fun as what I had planned.
Oh, I participated in the Grand Fondo, which is a timed bicycle event up in Logan with about 500 of my closest friends, 76 miles. I completed it. That was my goal. I do this thing every year because this particular race is timed right very, very close to my birthday, just 3 days apart, that I tell my kids I have to be able to ride as many miles as my age.
Oh, gosh.
So I'm still good for another several years.
Oh, gosh. So how far did you ride?
I rode 76 miles.
That is so far.
I'm not 76 yet, so I'm
No,
good. Like I say, I'm good for a little while.
That's right. Wow. Yeah, so our fun facts of the day. Today is National Macaroni and Cheese Day, and I will just tell you, when I was raising our big family, carbs are a cheap food, and so we would do multiple boxes of macaroni and cheese for a meal, and a lot of times I would add like hot dogs in it because it kind of expanded a little bit, add a little more protein. But do you eat macaroni and cheese?
So it's something I haven't eaten in a long time, but there's a restaurant near us where we go once in a while, and every once in a while they'll feature as the night special mac and cheese, and like you say, they'll put something fun in it. And I ordered it once because I thought, man, it's been a long time since I had mac and cheese, and it was incredible. It was fun. It was really good. I don't even remember what they had in it, but like you say, it had sausage or some vegetables or something
fancier than
but
hot
it was
dogs.
Really fun. It was really a lot of fun.
So I've found a recipe this year. Actually, I've made it several times because it was so popular with my family, and it's making your own homemade macaroni and cheese. And there's actually 5 kinds of cheeses in it, but there's more by pound of cheese than there is macaroni. And of course, everybody loves that, right?
Right. What else have we got today?
So today is actually the day in 1881 that Billy the Kid was shot and killed by Sheriff Pat Garrett. He was only 21.
He was a kid.
He was a kid.
Definitely a kid.
Yeah. In 1917, 16 women from the National Women's Party were arrested while picketing the White House, demanding universal women's suffrage. They were charged with obstructing traffic.
The National Women's Party.
Yeah.
Does it exist today?
No.
Oh.
No, but it was there. It was there to promote suffrage.
League of Women Voters or something like that.
When
KSL returns, we will turn things over to Maria Shileos as Utah's Department of Corrections is preparing for the death row inmate execution of Ralph Menzies to be executed by firing squad. It's the first time a firing squad will be used in Utah in 15 years.
KSL Salt Lake City. From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Good afternoon. KSL News Time is 12 o'clock noon, and this is Midday. I'm Maria Shileos. KSL's top story. Utah's Department of Corrections is making preparations for death row inmate Ralph Menzies to be executed by firing squad. It's the first time a firing squad will be